stripper, you've got a real mixer and a real SLR. I don't.
Could be. All right.
Perhaps it's your
Check.
nasal
You
tones.
sound all right? Okay. We can get going. You want to get
Yeah.
going?
Yes, let's do it.
Good evening. Welcome to Sick and Wrong, the world source for antisocial commentary. One of your hosts, D. Simon.
Call the police. It's me, Kate Rambeau.
It's cracking there, Kate.
Oh, not much, mate. What's going on with you?
You know, I had lunch in a real restaurant, like inside a real restaurant today.
All right, show off. Okay.
It was weird. It just felt really weird doing that again. I had lunch with Ryan Keeley at Cantor's, and Cantor's is kind of like a famous old Jewish
It
deli over
is.
here.
Yes.
But it's been just takeout there for I don't know, past what year and a half, or year or whatever. And so she was like, "Yeah, they're doing inside limited capacity." And so I went over there and met her, and it was so weird. Like you had to go in, you had to like disinfect your hands before you went into the place, stand in line for them to seat you, which is fine. But there was no one else in the restaurant. This huge, massive deli, and there's no one else in there.
What was the
It's
food
kind of more
like?
of a diner, not
Get
a
to the.
deli,
I was about to say I really
like a
want
deli
diner
slash
food. I
diner.
want. I want cafe food. Tell me about the food. Get to.
It was
What
good.
was?
It was
What
good. I
did you
got
get?
I got vegetarian matzo ball soup, and I got some steak fries.
Oh, tell me more about these fries.
They're really good. They're good steak cut fries. But what was weird about it, there's no salt and pepper shakers. There's no
Oh,
ketchup. Yeah, everything has to be in plastic. And so that's kind of the way they do it now. So everything's in plastic and they come over and it's when you have one waiter, everybody's spaced out. There really only maybe like four other people in the restaurant. And the weirdest thing to me, and obviously I'm acutely aware of this, everything's more expensive.
really? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
I think it's to compensate for all the plastic shit and disinfectant and all the stuff that they
Oh.
have to buy. So everything is at least like $2 more.
If you're sitting in.
I think just in general, because I noticed this too. The other day, there's this Thai place I've been going to for years. It's called Little Toy. It's over on Sunset. It's a really good place. And so I've been going there for years. Went there, ordered the same thing I normally get, and it was like $4 more.
What's the same thing you normally get? Tell me.
It's just like a red curry with tofu, and it's
Nice.
typically like I don't know 8.95 or something. It was like $13.
Were you aghast?
Well, I didn't notice it first, but then I was talking to a guy at work, and he's like, "Yeah, everything's like a couple dollars more now."
I haven't noticed that over here, but I also haven't been anywhere yet. Although the pubs and stuff are open, I
But
just
they
haven't
are open
been.
over there.
They are open. Some places are walk-in, some aren't. Like I know for spoons, local spoons at least, you can just you can walk in if there's a spare table, you can go and sit at it, but it's got all the kind of plastic
Oh
partitions.
yeah, yeah. All the restaurants have these like plastic dividers.
Yeah, but I just haven't been yet. Um, will
It's
I? I
it is
probably will at
odd.
some point.
It's kind of a weird experience. Yeah, I'm hoping, it's a step towards things becoming more normal. So, I'm
Yeah.
obviously, willing to do it. It was cool to be able to go to a restaurant. It was also fun catching up with Ryan Keeley. She was telling me about her ex-husband, who's now a professional pickup artist. I mean, he was a porn star, but now he's like a PUA, and he makes videos on YouTube, um, essentially doing like sexual negging. And so we
Yes.
went into it. We talked about it on the outtakes, and we played some clips from this guy's videos. I think it's only people like Boner Villain watching and subscribing to this guy's channel. But yeah, it was really weird. And she was just like, "Oh yeah, I don't think he works." She was like, "I highly doubt he works in porn because everyone hates him."
Yeah,
And
and what,
so,
you've been
well,
blacklisted in the porno? Where can't you go? Where
you
can you
become a pickup
go?
artist.
Yeah, for a male
You
porn
know,
star, it's not like he can become a stripper.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. What are you gonna do? And so I think he's been doing that. But it was fun catching up with her, and it was nice to see that things are becoming somewhat normal. On the way back, I was walking back and walking back home, and some dude started harassing me to come to his comedy show. So
No,
they must be doing comedy shows now too. So
that's
I mean, it just
disgusting.
yeah, but that's kind of how it is here. It's like people seem like you like comedy, and they'll try to like bark at you to come to their stupid show. This guy was really persistent though, because I kept
Ugh.
saying like, no, no thanks, no thanks, and I even have headphones on. And typically,
Yeah.
headphones is kind of like, fuck off. I'm not going to talk to you. But the guy was like really persistent. And finally, I was just like, I hate stand up comedy. And he was like, for real? For real, bro? Do you hate to laugh? And I was like, yes, I hate laughter. And so then
Look at me. Yeah.
he's like, that's fucked up, man. And I was like, all right. But it just was a sign of things returning to normalcy. And I thought that was comforting,
Well,
you know,
good. I wish that they had all shut down and were never to return.
with all the stand up comedians just died of
Yeah,
COVID
just all of them had caught the COVID and
and
died.
just
That would have been
died. Yeah.
amateur stand-up comedians. Let's put it like that. Not
There's a handful I wouldn't mind,
surviving.
surviving. But I would
Yeah.
say the majority, vast majority, if there's a disease like a pandemic that just wiped out stand up comedians and improv performers, I think I'd be cool
Improv.
with.
Improv more. Let them
Yeah.
die first in the first wave. And then it went for the stand-up
And
comedians.
then get the magicians too. Just get them all three, a
Fuck
trifecta.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm cool with that. So a listener reached out to me. That's why I was wondering if the pubs and restaurants in the UK were open again, because the listener reached out to me asking if we're planning to do Edinburgh Fringe Festival this year. I didn't even know what was
Mm.
going on.
I didn't even know it was going on. I don't see how it can go on.
I guess I was reading about it because he sent me a link to it, and it's gonna be like a hybrid thing, like Zoom and
Awful.
live performances.
Terrible.
Yeah, don't know. I mean, obviously, we're not going to do it,
No, I'm not doing
but
that.
Kate hates Edinburgh. Why do you hate Edinburgh?
Um, it's just hoity-toity, right? I do like there's one area of Edinburgh I like called Leith, but other than that, I just think it's fucking hoity-toity. Glasgow's the way better
It's
city.
bloody posh.
It's bloody posh, mate. Glasgow, you
You
can
don't
always
like it?
there's better bars, there's more there's like better restaurants. I don't know, that just the vibe in Glasgow is way better. I
I dug
prefer it.
Glasgow. I mean, I had a good time at Edinburgh. It was fun hanging out with everybody. But when we went out in Glasgow, I was like, this is a little more my scene. It's like
Yeah,
gritty, it's industrial, it's depressing.
it's not
I liked
depressing.
it. It can be a little depressing. I liked it. Like when I was in Edinburgh, it's like they had it was around the holidays time. Like it was like early December, and they had like this whole festival and this
Oh,
market and all this
the
Christmas shit
market.
everywhere. Glasgow, it's like the first bar we went to. There were like three dudes just passed out on a table, and it's like 3 p.m. and
Love it.
a bunch of Neds just like sitting there smoking and swearing. And I was like, this is a little more my scene.
And
This is the
Pakara.
vitality I've been looking for.
Shout out to Glasgow for the Pakara, which I miss.
I didn't get to add that. But my grandfather, born and raised in Glasgow,
He will have been
um,
born and raised eating Pakara. Good
he
for
probably
him.
did. And he loved Indian food. My uncle said we still have family there. I don't really know them,
In
but
Glasgow.
yeah, we still have, they're Jews in Glasgow. Yes, Kate. They're
They're
Jews in Glasgow. Okay. Don't be
probably
so
the only
surprised.
probably the only two Jews in all of Glasgow. Your relations. They look exactly like you, but they've got Scottish
just,
accents.
just big noses, frizzy hair,
Yeah.
shitty tattoos. Didn't you lived in Glasgow for a while, right?
Yeah, for a little while. Not for very long. I found it hard to get work when I was up there. It was for a tumultuous time in my life. But I did if I could live if I had to move anywhere in the UK, it would be Glasgow again.
Yeah, I like Glasgow. I could totally live there.
Yeah,
But
it's fun.
it's a tough city though. It's been I mean, there's a violent history with Glasgow.
There is.
I mean, at one time, Glasgow had the title of murder capital of Western Europe.
Did it?
Yeah. And we're going to talk this week. We're talking about the ice cream wars, Glasgow's ice cream wars in the 80s. It's extremely violent. But it's cleaned up since then. It's definitely cleaned up since the 80s, since the train spotting times. But it's still rated the 11th most dangerous city in Europe.
Can I just take you back there? You did just make a fatal fucking error because
What?
train spotting is not in Glasgow.
I thought it was. Is that in
It's
Edinburgh?
Edinburgh.
Oh, okay,
Edinburgh.
whatever.
Take that back.
Scotland. But no, I mean, that was what, 90s? I think Glasgow was still pretty sketchy in the 90s, wasn't it?
Well, I wasn't really going up there in the 90s, but yeah, I mean, parts of it have definitely become gentrified in as they always do in cities. But
But I was genuinely kind of surprised that it's the 11th most violent city in Europe. It just didn't strike me to be that violent, but maybe I didn't go to like the sketchy, really sketchy areas.
yeah, I bet you didn't. It can be like this part. I remember when we first started recording at Green Door Studios, which is kind of like West Endy. That was yeah, when we first started recording there, so we're going about back like nearly 10-ish years ago. It was sketchy then, but now it's full on gentrified. But
Yeah.
you weren't really supposed to be walking around at night back then, but we did.
So Glasgow has 5.1 murders per every 100,000 people.
Okay.
Comparing that to Los Angeles, here in we have 7.01 murders for every 100,000. London, 1.54
Oh
murders for every
wow.
100,000. Yeah, it's not that bad.
Oh.
And the number one, like most dangerous city in Europe, also kind of surprising, Istanbul.
Is that surprising? Is
I
it?
didn't think, I mean, I was in Istanbul. I just didn't think it was like that. I guess it's a really violent city, a lot of murders.
Didn't think it was murdery. I can see like yeah, husbands losing it against their wives in Istanbul. I can
Well,
see that.
terrorism too. I think
Yes.
that's part of it. But yeah, the topic that we want to get to is the violent ice cream wars of 1980s Glasgow, and that's a subject Kate was mentioning it to me because I was talking about like we were having a conversation about the Glasgow Smile and everything, and then you mentioned the ice cream wars, and I was like, don't even really know about that. It's a weird period of history
It is. I
that
love
I think a lot of people have overlooked it.
yeah, and I love it's a very like kind of British thing as well to have this kind of turf war and using your ice cream vans is like the
Well,
main
definitely
weapon.
Well, it definitely promotes the whole stigma of like the violent Scots,
Yeah.
the violent Scottish. But yeah, Scotland or Scotland's most populous city here, Glasgow, has definitely changed over the years, but it has a history of violence dating back to like the 1920s and 1930s when there were razor gangs running rampant through the streets. And then now it's like, there's like yeah, football gangs, more recent times. So Glasgow well accustomed to violence. And so just I mean, namely, there's a torture method called the Glasgow Smile that was developed and practiced throughout that city by folks like these guys here, the it's the Bridgeton team.
The
They were one of
Bridgeton
those razor
team.
gangs that went around. But yeah, in the 1920s, 1930s, these razor gangs were named because their favored choice of weapon. They would cruise around with these razors, carving the sides of a victim's mouth into a demented grin, known as the Glasgow Smile. Uh, the way that goes down here, obviously created in Glasgow, not surprising. It's inflicted by cutting one or both corners of the victim's mouth. So you could have one side that's a Glasgow Smile, or you could do both sides. Sometimes all the way to the ears. The
Ouch.
so-called Glasgow Smile originated in a very dark period of Glasgow's history. The victim's screams of pain only served to tear the cuts open even further, giving a terrifying scar that the wearer obviously would have for life. And I have a picture here of the actor Tommy Flanagan, and he actually has a real Glasgow Smile. He was attacked outside of a bar in Glasgow, and you can see the demented grin there of the Glasgow Smile. Now, a Glasgow kiss, on the other hand, is a completely different thing. That's
Yes.
a headbutt. But the fact that there's two violent techniques here named after a city shows you that it's a violent fucking city, you
You
know?
know, Glasgow is also the only city that no effects won't play because they got chased out of town. There's a random fact for you.
When did no effects get like in the 90s?
Yeah, 90s slash early 2000s, they got chased out of town, and it's the one place they'll go play Russia, they'll go play like South America, they won't play Glasgow.
So Glasgow is, during like the Industrial Revolution, kind of like between what is that, like late 1800s, uh, the population of the city of Glasgow more than doubled because a lot of farmers were driven off their land. And so a lot of people just moved into the city. And then there's also, they established a lot of factories and dockyards in Glasgow. And it became, a lot of these displaced farm workers all moved to the city, seeking employment. And soon it became this massive city. And then end of World War One, now there's even more people there. All the soldiers come back. A lot of people are unemployed, which led to kind of an organization of criminals, like criminal gangs. The Razor gangs started working the city, and the East End and the South Side became known as the Gorbals, and they were just minor criminal empires that were kind of operating in all these different areas of Glasgow. And there were rivalries, like violent, bloody rivalries between these two groups, between many groups. And some of these groups that followed religious lines. Like there's a gang called the Protestant Billy Boys who would fight against the Catholic Norman Conks. Like these are the
Norman
different gangs
Conks.
here, the Conks, Conks. And then there were like other smaller, like equally like brutal gangs who would carve up their rivals with razors, in these back and forth wars. And the smile was something that inevitably came out of the violence. And it was just and people did it with, they inflicted it with a razor or a knife or shards of glass, even.
Oh.
But the scars, were an indelible mark of, the violence inflicted upon one gang on another. So, I mean, you could tell like this guy got hit by the Billy Boys, got
Yeah.
a Glasgow smile. Now, that's something that originated in Scotland, but it doesn't only take place in Scotland. The Glasgow
Absolutely.
smile, especially, during that period, 1900s, occurred in other areas. We're going to talk about a 1930s a famous serial killer here, Albert Fish, Brooklyn vampire, cannibal, pedophile, um,
Masochist.
masochist. Yeah. And he looks like such an unassuming man. Like he could be, working in a pharmacy or something, or a
You think he
professor.
looks unassuming? Albert Fish is creepy looking. Come on, look at those cheekbones.
I mean, he kind of has like sallow features, but I looked at him, I just think he's just like,
He
innocuous old man.
he
But
has
this
the look of a
guy,
man who has nails in his skin. That's who he looks like.
we
He's
had a
so
grisly
creepy.
habit of molesting, torturing, and eating children. And he
Yes.
inflicted the Glasgow smile on one unfortunate kid, little 4-year-old Billy Gaffney.
Oh,
One day failed to
Billy.
return home, and you know, Fish found him, murdered him, and cut off Gaffney's ears, nose, and slit his mouth from ear to ear.
Oh, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? Did
Probably
he
the
eat the
most.
ears? Feels like
I'm
he
sure
would
he
eat the
did.
ears.
I'm
Hmm.
sure he did. Ate the kid. They found his remains. Poor kid. Parents had to see him with a Glasgow smile. One of the most famous murder victims here who received a Glasgow grin here was Elizabeth Short, also known as the Black Dahlia.
I'd say she's the most famous.
She probably is the most famous. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was found in early 1947. Um, she was a waitress, aspiring actress in Los Angeles, and her mutilated body was found one January morning in 1947. Uh, she was cut cleanly in two at the waist, her limbs bearing extensive knife cuts, set in a weird pose, too, which
Do you
is
know why
strange.
she was in a weird pose? Because she was in a bathtub. So she was in a bathtub with her hands tied behind, like to the plumbing. So when they dismembered her, that's why her hips are at that kind of
Was it like
angle.
rigor mortis set in, and that's why her body was stuck in that position?
Yeah, and because she'd lost like the blood flow, like that position would be her final position. Do you know she was made to eat her own shit before she died? They found shit in her stomach with her last meal.
Jesus.
Yeah,
They
I
ever
know a lot
find
about
her
Elizabeth
who
Short.
murdered her?
No, and they never will. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like it's lost to time and history now, but I like cases like that. It's like the Zodiac. My biggest fear is that they'll solve the Zodiac killing. Never want that to happen.
Her face was cut neatly from the edges of her mouth, as you can see there, right up to her earlobes. Um, this haunting grin slashed across her face was kept out of newspaper photographs at the time. But thanks to people like Kay Rambo, you can just do a simple Google search, and there you can
Yes.
see Elizabeth Short with her Glasgow smile. So the Glasgow smile isn't something that faded away with time. Actually, there's been a bit of a resurgence in the UK. There's a group called the Chelsea Headhunters, which is linked with the Chelsea Football Club, a very violent football club, group of hooligans. They get together. They adopted the Glasgow smile, but they put their own twist on it. They call it the Chelsea smile or the Chelsea grin. It's pretty much the same thing. They just
Yes.
cut your mouth open, but they're doing it, I guess, to honor the Chelsea football team.
Sadly.
So, yeah. But the headhunters would face off with their hated rivals from other London districts, like South London's equally violent Millwall. And these would be like some riotous brawls, very violent altercations that even the police are like, yeah, I think we're just gonna let this go. We'll just
Yeah, I
wait,
would say
pick up
Millwall
the pieces.
are the most violent of all the football gangs in the UK. Maybe not so much in recent years. Now it's been trying to because we're bad for our
Curtail the
football
violence.
violence. Yeah, but Millwall, they're legendary for it.
Yeah, they've the headhunters have become notorious for administering the Chelsea grin to anyone who crosses them, especially Millwall team members there. Um, and it's the mutilation they say is so pervasive in Glasgow. They can be even found in medical textbooks that have methods of treatment. And this is a statistic that Kate Rambo disagrees with, but I read it when I was doing my research. 2011, it was estimated that someone in Glasgow suffered the serious facial injury once every 6 hours.
Every 6 hours. But
Every
then
6 hours, someone gets
saying
a
that
Glasgow
again,
smile.
that doesn't a serious facial injury does not mean a Glasgow smile, does it?
Well, they said this serious facial injury. So I think they're
Oh, okay.
referring
Every
to the
six
Glasgow smile.
hours.
Yeah.
Nah, mate. Nah,
That's a lot of Glasgow
I want all
smiles.
my Glasgow friends to just message me and tell me I'm wrong. But I just don't
It
think
just
that's
seems
right.
egregious, doesn't it? I
Yeah,
mean,
it would
it's
seem
just,
like everyone would have a Glasgow smile in Glasgow if it's every 6 hours.
and it can't be something that easy. I guess you could just go and slide. It depends on what you consider a Glasgow smile. Like I'm
It
considering like
does.
Heath Ledger, Joker,
Yeah,
both
like
sides. I'm
Elizabeth
not just saying a
Shaw.
little slice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's got to be both, hasn't it?
Yeah.
That's
If
what
someone
I
just
think.
glasses you, I don't think that counts.
No, no, that's just a
You know,
glassing. That happens in
that's a
North.
glassing.
Yeah,
That's a way of life in the
it
UK.
is.
All right. So the Glasgow ice cream wars. These wars occurred during the 1970s and the 80s. There were gangs in Glasgow, not razor gangs, but street gangs that were feuding with rival ice cream trucks over their territory, often violently. And being an ice cream man became one of the most dangerous jobs. And so this era is commonly known now as the Glasgow Ice Cream Wars, when the ice cream monopoly, rival gangs were fighting to monopolize the ice cream truck industry. So it all kind of started late 70s, early 80s when industry was collapsing in Glasgow. So there was a mass, level of unemployment, a lot of civil unrest, um, probably all due to Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah, let's blame
Um,
that bitch.
And so the working class Scottish city was racked with a lot of violence, a lot of drugs, a lot of poverty. And so what we're showing here in this picture is the Glasgow housing schemes, very similar to the housing projects you find in U.S. cities, very densely packed housing units. And I'm
Yeah, so
assuming those are all apartments, right, or flats?
no houses. Usually schemes are houses. It's kind of like it's just Scotland's version of a council estate.
Yeah, but looking
Also,
at this picture here, that's one home.
no, that's like you can see there's like two homes usually detached to
Okay,
each
so it's
other.
split. It's like almost like a duplex.
Yeah, sometimes they are apartments, but mainly they're houses, and it's like there'll be a family living in them. And if you want to see like a good example of a scheme, there was a BBC show called The Scheme, which is all up on YouTube. And yeah, watch that if you want to see what it's like to live on a scheme.
So these schemes were mostly built in the 1960s to replace the old and dangerous tenement housing that existed before that. The schemes were made for low income families, and the amount of money going to the schemes kind of died off once the people moved in. So they were built on the outskirts of the city, like on the borders, and they often lacked access to basic shops and grocery stores. And there's not much transportation there. So it was difficult for people just to get groceries, when they lived in one of these. And it's very similar actually to a lot of the housing projects in some American cities. Like I'm talking about Cabrini Green is a good example. So
Okay.
Cabrini Green, I think the city was like, you know what? We'll get the homeless people off the street and we'll get families. We'll get a chance if we build these, developments. And Cabrini Green were like, high rises. They're like, I don't know, 30 floors or something. And so they put all this money into building these Cabrini Green high rises for low income housing. But then as soon as the families moved in, they just kind of were like, fuck it. Like, we're not going to support it because it became very violent. People were getting raped and murdered, and, there's a lot of and drug usage and things like that. And so the city just kind of was like, you know what, we're just going to let Cabrini Green die. And so it became condemned, but people still live there. Like if you watch the movie Candyman, that's all based in Cabrini Green.
Yeah, I love that film.
Yeah, it was gnarly.
Glasgow has some high-rise tenements like that as well, which are all council owned. It's
Just
what the
dilapidated at this point.
well, I think at the minute they're looking to move all the people out and get them into better housing. But that's what the TV show Still Game is about. It's about these guys living in these high-rise council homes.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. Like, a lot of I was this one guy that they interviewed in this one story that I was reading. He's an author. He wrote a book on the ice cream wars called Frightener. But he said that these schemes were constructed largely in the years following World War II as a means of like thinning inner city overpopulation and removing slums. So they're hoping if like we give you a home, it's out of the city, and the drugs and the violence will go away, and like it won't be like so densely overpopulated, that people are killing each other. So I mean it makes sense, but it obviously didn't really work. Instead of taking people out of the slums, it just relocated them into new slums. And now poor people were concentrated on the outskirts of the city, far from work and shops. And so what happened is the ice cream van business, the ice cream trucks, sort of became mobile grocery stores in a way, like
Yeah,
traveling shops
well
to
they
supply
did.
the schemes with much needed goods. So, in addition to just ice cream, here's an old ice cream truck, ice cream van, as they call it over there. So, in addition to ice cream, they sold groceries, toilet paper, and other things, the people who live in the schemes needed, but obviously couldn't get because they're so far away from the shops. Although I find it really weird to buy toilet paper from an ice cream truck. There's
Do
just
you not
something unnatural about that.
do you not remember when you found it weird that I said we had pop vans? We used to have a pop man who would come round and he would have jugs of pop.
Like
There was a
soda
van
pop.
for everything. Yeah, we'd have the pop man come round. He would usually come round on the weekend and he would have big jugs of pop. But I remember
That's weird.
when I was 15, the ice cream man still sold cigarettes out of his van. You could buy single cigarettes from the ice cream man. It's like how I started smoking. It was from the ice
you
cream
would
man.
you could buy Lucy's from the ice cream man.
You buy loose cigarettes off him. They were like
How much was a loose
20p.
cigarette? Like 20p?
20p. Yeah, it
Wow.
was for a cigarette.
There
But
used to be, I remember when the early days of me smoking, not everywhere, but they had like little vending machines. You can get Lucy's for like a quarter.
oh no way. No,
Oh, it's great.
that was
Yeah.
before my time. Lucy's.
Yeah, but there you go. There's an ice cream truck, the ice cream man. Not only selling ice cream, but selling toilet paper as well and other supplies, which is
Yeah,
kind of
we still
nice.
also have because I live in a rural area. We still have the milkman, and we have a fish man as well. And we
A
also have a
fish
meat
man.
and a meat man. They're like independent suppliers, and they come
But then wait, they
round.
just come around in a truck being like, meat for sale.
Meat for sale.
And then you run out to go buy your ground beef.
Yeah,
That's bizarre.
it's the olden days here still, mate.
Don't you have like shops? Do they have stores?
We do have shops, but this is like supporting your independent local retailers.
That's even more like disconcerting because where's he getting this meat from?
It's all
Like his
local
garage
from the farmers here.
for locals
For
only. Yeah,
locals
I don't know if
only.
I would. I don't know if I would trust the meat that Sam the Meat Man over here is selling. But these ice cream vans, people that drove these ice cream vans with the like the traveling shops here could earn up to 200 pounds per week. come a lot of money. I mean,
Wow. In the
at that
60s, in the
period.
70s and 80s,
Yeah,
I'm
late
sure
70s, early
this.
80s. So eventually, as you know, obviously when you have a new enterprise like this, you're selling you're selling groceries and supplies like this to poor people. What else do poor people enjoy doing? Recreationally, but then eventually it becomes a bit of a lifestyle. Drugs. They love drugs. The
Who
poors love
doesn't?
the drugs.
Oh my God, who
Doesn't.
doesn't though? We're all a
So
fan.
being that they live on the outskirts of the city, someone's got to deliver these drugs. So ice cream vans started routinely selling drugs and stolen property. I mean, they still sold ice cream sandwiches, popsicles, and cookie pusses, but they also sold, drugs. It's like if you think it's the perfect front for selling drugs.
Do you know another random Glasgow ice cream van fact? Fred West of the infamous Wests, Fred and Rose, he lived
Fred and
in
Rose West.
Glasgow in the 60s for a short spell, and he actually killed a child with his ice cream van.
He drove an ice cream van.
He drove an ice cream van
I didn't
because
know
they're
that.
obviously ubiquitous in Glasgow. But in the years since like all this madness about their family has come out, it's now looked more upon as a murder rather than an accident because it wasn't investigated. But he hit a kid. He hit a 4-year-old and killed a 4-year-old.
I may imagine that happens. The little
Well,
kids
it
are
was
running out, to
yeah.
get
That's
your
why it
ice
didn't
cream to
get
hear the music.
investigated because they were like, oh, these are these
But
accidents are
guaranteed
happening
Fred
all the
West was
time.
probably swerving into the kid,
Yeah, yeah. He
you
was
know?
driving like BA Baracas.
So, yeah, these ice cream van drivers could make a pretty decent living. And if they were willing to sell stolen goods or drugs, well, then they're going to make a pretty good living because they're going to increase their profits. And so that willingness, you know, was very convincing because I think a lot of other criminal organizations would be like, well, now we can have a fleet of ice cream men dealing drugs to, the projects on the outskirts of the city. So it became bad enough that the local Strathclyde Serious Crime Squad became known as the Serious Chime Squad
Ew.
because the nexus here between ice cream vans and criminal activity. And so soon, like, certain criminal organizations, because there are a bunch of different competing gangs in Glasgow that were, selling stolen property, shilling cigarettes, drugs, things like that. Well, as soon as certain groups were like, "Well, this guy's making a killing with the ice cream van business," well, we want a cut of that.
Of
So they
course.
started, pressuring and intimidating their own ice cream vans because there are a bunch of different groups, that ice cream companies, and so they started going after all the different drivers and intimidating them. Yeah, there's one, the Marchetti Brothers, one of the most, it's probably one of the most popular ones. So these different gangs started trying to get all these other drivers on the payroll. And obviously, a lot of people weren't willing to play ball. It's like, I don't want to engage in criminal activity. I'm not going to do this. And so, if you chose not to play along, if you chose not to collude with these criminal organizations, well, you're going to face some violence. And there was also violence about which area of Glasgow you were allowed to send your trucks to.
I
So
bet.
there
Yeah.
became like a full on turf battle, like a turf war
Using
for all the
ice cream
different areas
trucks.
using ice cream trucks.
This would be such a good game, a mini game in GTA,
They,
wouldn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
Glasgow ice cream trucks.
Yeah.
They should do a GTA in Glasgow, Scotland, GTA Scotland
Oh,
edition.
they should.
So tensions, began to rise between all the rival ice cream truck operators, and it got nasty. I mean, full turf wars broke out, especially on like the more profitable routes with like the bigger schemes. Everybody was wanting to like start selling their drugs to these different routes, and so the gangs started fighting over who had control of the most profitable ice cream routes. And so gang members began using rocks, baseball bats, knives, axes, and guns to defend their territory from rival van companies. And soon, I mean, there was like violent street fights, broken windshields. Incidents range from just double stopping, which is parking at the same spot and trying
Oh,
to entice customers away from the rival.
Yeah.
from the competition to leapfrogging to get the better sites to full on paying local toughs, like local youths, to usually just with alcohol, like you just give them some buckfast, and then they would just get them to go attack a rival's vehicle, smash the windows, slice the tires, break the headlamps. So yeah, I mean, it became like a really violent scene, and police were kind of were overwhelmed by it. And soon, like it was like full on mafia style warfare. A convicted man smasher here recalled that the ice cream van gangs would use anything to defend their mobile drugs and treat vans. So I
Right.
mean, they were like, some had guns, knives, axes. Like they're using full on battle axes to fight each other. So I mean, it was kind of like the Warriors, but with ice cream trucks.
Yeah, this is so much
You
fun.
know.
Yeah.
So in 1984, this violence even escalated further, but this time to murder. So there's an ice cream man, 18-year-old Andrew Batboy Doyle.
Bat boy.
Um,
Is that
uh,
because he had a bat?
I don't know why
Do you
they called him
think?
Bat Boy.
I
I
hope
thought
so.
at first when I read it, because I was watching this Channel 4 did a whole series on this guy. I thought they meant Fat Boy,
Fat
but no,
boy.
it's Bat Boy Doyle here.
He
Uh,
must
he
have had a
infringed
bat.
he infringed on someone else's territory, and so one of the dominant gangs were like, "Well, we want you if you're going to be operating in here, driving your ice cream van, you're going to have to start selling some of our merchandise." And he pushed back. He was working for the Marchetti brothers at the time, and they say that Tam McGraw, who was one of the most feared underworld criminals in Glasgow at the time, tried to persuade him to peddle drugs, and he just steadfastly refused. He
Oh
was like, "I'm not
wow.
going to be involved with your organized crime gang." So obviously, they weren't too pleased about his response, and they shot his windshield out with a shotgun to try to intimidate him. And he wasn't intimidated. He still wouldn't play ball. And so stronger measures were needed. And so what they call this, they call it a frightener. That's the name of the book that was written about the ice cream wars. But a frightener is a scare tactic. So they're just like, we're gonna have to add some frighteners. So they jumped him outside he lived in a scheme. They jumped him outside of his scheme. They shot out his windshield. They smashed up his van. He still wouldn't play ball and peddle drugs for them. So on April 16th, 1984, someone put a bed linen soaked in gasoline against the front door of the flat in the Ruchese housing estate where Doyle lived with his parents and his siblings, and they set it on fire. The fire spread quickly, and Doyle and his family were trapped inside. And I mean, obviously, they were probably trying to frighten Doyle, like this is another frightener tactic. But who knows? The end result
No.
was devastating, though. Of
Yeah,
the
I think
nine
when
people
you're
inside, of
bringing
all these people
fire,
died.
all of
Yeah, I mean,
them.
yeah. Well, of the nine people that were inside, only three escaped. So six people died.
Whoa.
Yeah, Mr. Doyle died in the fire, or Bat Boy died in the fire. His two brothers, his father, his sister, and her son, an 18-month-old kid there in the middle, which is sad. It was definitely one of the deadliest acts of mass murder in Scotland. Actually, it was the deadliest act of mass murder in Scotland until the Dunblane massacre in 1996.
Of course.
So the public at this point now were outraged. It's a lot of pressure on the local police. And so they frantically were trying to scramble to figure out, who's responsible for this mass murder. And so what ended up happening is one of the, I guess, most notorious miscarriages of justice in Glasgow's history. What
Mm.
actually ended up happening. So the cops interviewed hundreds of suspects to try to pinpoint who set the fire and murdered Doyle's family.
I read that
Uh,
they interviewed 4,000 people and 4,000 people didn't say anything.
well, one guy said something.
Yeah,
Because
it's
they
always
eventually
one.
settled on one Thomas Campbell and one Joe Steele as the culprits. Both men owned ice cream vans, and police alleged that they were protecting their turfs. So this is a turf retaliation here. Not to mention, Campbell had a considerable criminal past, and they thought Steele was one of his sidekicks. Desperate to make a conviction here, because they were. I mean, there's obviously a lot of pressure on the police. I mean, the violence had been escalating, and now there's a mass murder. An 18-month-old child died. So they coordinated a plea bargain with a jailed ice cream van robber named John Love. He was just a local petty criminal. And he's the one who implicated the van owners Thomas T.C. Campbell and Joe Steele as the culprits. So police arrested Tommy Campbell and Joe Steele. Campbell was 31 at the time. Steele was 22. And the witness identified both of them and fingered both of those guys. And when arresting Campbell and Steele suspects, the police claimed to hear each man made separate incriminating statements about each other, referencing the crime,
Yeah, of
um,
course.
that were criticized for probably being fabricated. But they said, it's true that Thomas did have a history of violence and he acted as the enforcer. Joe was his sidekick.
I
Just like
see.
he was Batman, Joe was Robin in this situation. But both men claimed to have alibis and insisted that they were innocent. So now Love claimed that he overheard the two men plotting to teach Fat Boy Doyle a lesson. Four police officers testified they heard Campbell say, "The fire at Fat Boys was only meant to be a frightener, which went too far." Police also said a map of Glasgow with the Doyle apartment marked with an X was found at Campbell's flat.
Oh, who is? No, these are Glasgow boys. You don't need to be having a map
A
with an
map with an
X.
X, like
You know where
murder
these
this
streets
guy.
are. You know where these schemes are. You just need to be told an address once. Who is? That is so shoddy. That is
It does sound very just suspect, That's like,
that's
okay, really?
complete
It's just too
suspect.
obvious. Like
So
there's a map
obvious.
with an X, like murder this guy,
Well, and there's
you
a
know?
jailbird canary singing about who's done it. I don't trust him for a second either.
Well, the accused, proclaimed their innocence the entire time. They said that Love and the police were lying. They said the map was planted by the cops, like they had never seen this map before. But the jury unanimously agreed with the prosecution. It probably would be a pretty shut and dry, shut and closed case. Um, Campbell and Steele were both given a life sentence with no chance of release for 20 years.
What?
Yeah. So they were sentenced to 20 years in the slammer here. Um, so being that they were falsely imprisoned for murder together, there they are. It looks like they were roughed up too, doesn't it?
They are insanely roughed up. Just a
Yeah.
little. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's pretty incriminating what they're being accused of here. But they were falsely imprisoned for murder together, but they were never friends. I mean, they didn't even
Okay.
like each other.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Steele actually got a 20-year sentence. Campbell got 30 years. And so
Jesus.
immediately after the conviction, most people assumed they're guilty. I mean, they wanted to obviously, shut this case down and find the culprits who were responsible for the mass murder. And so I think they were relieved when they actually were able to be like, well, it's these two guys who did it. And the police and the prosecution, the press just painted them as being complete monsters, which I don't think was very difficult when you're, lighting a fire and killing a child. Um, and so, yeah, the public was like, we want to see these guys being punished. So they were sentenced to the maximum, penalty for their crime. Now, Steele, like the whole time that they're in prison, 20 years, Mr. Steele and Mr. Campbell here never stopped insisting on their innocence. And they even staged protests in prison to draw attention to their plight. Campbell staged a series of hunger strikes. And soon the public, the press would write about these hunger strikes and things like this. And they still maintain their innocence, so assiduously that the public began to kind of question the guilt. And people were writing, opinion pieces in the news saying like maybe they aren't guilty. And the author who I mentioned before, Mr. Skelton here, and his co-author Lisa Brownlee published a book called Frightener about the case in 1993, which also renewed interest in this trial. So around that time, Steele was allowed to leave to visit his mother, which is insane that any prison would do this. They
Yes.
would they would let these guys, like, you're a murderer. You're convicted for life imprisonment, and they're like, "Oh, well, you can take the weekend off, go see your mom." That would never
Well,
happen in this
I
country.
mean, I know that would never happen, but at the end of the day, prison is meant to be about rehabilitation, isn't it? It's not meant to be about you're being locked up forever. It's about they've probably shown that in jail, even though I know that one of them did escape. You can you can like be trusted to build your life back. So I can see why it
I mean,
happens.
I can understand. I think it depends on the crime. When you're a mass murderer,
Well,
it's
even
like
Myra Hindley used to be allowed out for weekends, weekend jaunts. So it's part
maybe
of
it's in
this
the
country's
UK, but
culture.
here we're
Yeah.
not letting Charles Manson out for the weekend to go to Dairy Queen and hang out with his mummy.
His dear
It's
old
like, no,
mummy.
sorry, dude. So anyway, Mr. Steele here got leave to visit his mom, and he slipped from the grasp of the police guard and he disappeared. So he got a taste of freedom here. And so what did he do? He reemerged 5 days later in London, and he super glued and handcuffed himself to the gates of Buckingham Palace
Ugh,
to draw
that's
attention to the case. So it's like another protest.
there's nothing worse than when you get super glue on your hands. So this guy means it.
Was he naked? Like, did he super glue his whole body? Because that would have been,
Oh, that would have
quite the
been even
protest.
worse. That would have
Yeah,
the
super glued his
protest
dick to
to the
like Buckingham Palace.
yeah for the his todger, his square sausage lawn.
So yeah, he super glued literally and handcuffed himself to the gates of Buckingham Palace in a form of protest here. And the fact that he had actually handed himself back rather than just stay on the lam made people wonder, like, there might be some credence here to his claims of innocence. And then, not to mention, the book came out, and then the media started taking another look at some of the facts and the evidence that was submitted during this trial. And then in the early 90s, Love, the petty criminal, confessed his original statement to the police had been fabricated.
Of
He,
course.
he's yeah,
Here
he
you
said that
go.
it found out that he was facing years in prison. So as part of a plea deal, he helped them convict the murderers of Doyle.
It's a tale as old as time. As soon as there's a prison informant, I just never believe it because they want freedom and they will say anything to gain their freedom.
Well, so after, several news articles, the book came out, the public started coming around to the idea that maybe these two are innocent. And there was something rotten at the heart of this case. So in 1999, there was a newly formed criminal case review commission that started taking another look with the Court of Appeals at what happened here. And this time, evidence emerged about the collusion that police officers had to manufacture evidence against Campbell and Steele. Love was exposed as a jailhouse snitch. After giving police incriminating evidence against the two men, a charge of armed robbery against him was dropped and he was released from prison. So
Oh
by
wow.
snitching out these two guys, he got his sentence commuted. So obviously there's an incentive there.
Of course.
Um, and then in an appeal in 2004, the court concluded that the police conspired to concoct a fictional confession from Campbell. So they kind of forced Campbell to make a confession.
The police being corrupt?
Yeah.
David, this is the first time I've ever heard of it. I am shocked.
They also discovered that the map with the X also planted by police.
You don't fucking say. My word.
They did a shoddy frame up job here. So Thomas and Campbell and Steele's convictions were overturned in 2004 after the Court of Appeal ruled that they had been wrongly convicted, but they had already served 20 years. So it was a bit of a hollow victory if you think about it. 20 years of their life, in prison, but there they are, free men, Campbell and Steele.
And it's not like
who
you've
hate
been
each
locked.
other.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's not like you've been locked up with your buddy and you can be like, here's my comrade. We've been through this together. You're locked up with someone you fucking hate.
No, they absolutely hate each other. Campbell said, "There's no jubilation, there's no happiness here because there's only losers in this case." He said, "The
Yeah.
Doyle family lost their family. We lost our lives in prison for 20 years. Justice has failed everybody, and the case remains unsolved." But
It'll never get
yeah,
solved.
like Steele and Campbell, who were, you know, inextricably involved in this case, both of them completely connected to each other, were far from close. I mean, the truth is they were never friends. Um, Steele said he hated him for years. He hated Campbell for years and blamed him for destroying his life.
Oh, wow. Them some big words.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, he did. He said, "The truth is, we were never friends. You know, he destroyed my life. It got to the stage where I couldn't even stand to see his face anymore."
Do you think if he hears like the jingle of an ice cream van, it brings back PTSD?
I'm sure he like coils up into like a
Yeah, if he hears
fetal
green
position, starts
sleeves,
crying,
yeah, brings back all
urinating himself
his
uncontrollably.
prison memories.
Steele claimed his innocence, but never once defended Campbell.
Okay.
He said,
What
"I
do you?
was cleared 100% of any wrongdoing involving the Doyles, and I had never anything to do with ice cream vans." He said, "But TC was up to his neck in that business."
Right.
So
So how has
Campbell
he
was
been embroiled
involved.
then?
I think uh, I think it was the jailhouse snitch. It was like, oh, those two guys are friends. He's an accomplice.
But he's obviously got something to do with being a bit dodgy. Otherwise, this jailhouse snitch wouldn't know his name and he wouldn't be on his radar, would he?
You know, I mean, yeah. Why was someone blaming him? Like, why would someone bring up his name if there wasn't some kind of tangential association?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It doesn't necessarily mean he's as embroiled in selling drugs out of an ice cream van, but he's definitely up to no good if jailhouse snitches know your name and are willing to snitch on you.
A decade after getting out of prison, Campbell said that he had regrets about the bizarre violence of the ice cream gang wars.
You
He
don't
said, "A lot of
say.
my friends were killed. I was near to death on a few occasions myself. I've been caught with axes. I've been caught with swords, open razors, every conceivable weapon, meat cleavers. It was all for nothing, no gain, nothing to it, just absolute madness."
And
So,
ice cream, tasty ice cream, all the ice cream you could eat.
I know you forget about the ice cream sandwiches here. Um, that's the thing. It's like, sure, he might not have lit the fire that killed Doyle's family, but I'm sure he hurt a lot of people with the meat cleavers and the axes and the razors. I bet you he's given a couple people a Glasgow smile before.
Might have done. It reminds me of that film Ned's. That's what it kind of reminds me of. You ever seen
I'm
that?
sure this is probably before Ned's.
Oh
Were
yeah,
there Ned's? Was that term? When did that
Ned.
term? When was that term invented?
Oh, Ned has been around since the 50s. It means
Oh, okay. So maybe these guys
non-educated
were.
delinquent, but reminds me of that film, just like being a gangland land thug at
Which
such a
is
young
exactly what this
age.
guy was, though. Well, that's what I said. A lot of the people that were involved in the ice cream wars, they were desperate and young. Most of them were under the age of 26. And the ice cream was just incidental to it. I mean, the ice cream was just a way to deliver your merchandise. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think it was necessary. It could have been anything. Um, but the author here wrote the book Frightener said that my gut tells me that he had nothing to do with a fire. And until someone brings me conclusive evidence, that's how it is. There's never been any additional investigation into the case. No inquiry apart from the Scottish Criminal Cases Review Commission, which decided that a miscarriage of justice occurred and then, ushered the case to the Court of Appeals. But no one really knows what happened. There's never been a conviction.
And there never will be.
Um, well, people speculate who might have killed Doyle's family. There's lots of rumors in the streets of Glasgow. Some believe the true killers had been freed, Campbell and Steele, while others have different theories. I was reading in 2010, there were reports that a gang member and convicted murderer named Gary Moore made a deathbed confession to the killing.
I
But
also don't believe them either. Don't
well, in
believe them.
2012, his widow told the media that Gary had been covering for his cousin
Oh,
Gordon Ness, who passed away
okay.
like a few years later. So maybe he was saying like I did it to try to like because he was going to die anyway. Gary's widow believes Gordon killed himself because he's living in fear after Gary is no longer around to protect him. Joe Steele, who served 20 years in prison, said of Gary, Gary's no angel, but he never admitted to anyone he'd done the Doyle family. He never admitted to fuck all in his life. Now, Thomas Campbell, points the finger of blame at Tam, the licensee McGraw, who I mentioned before. And I think we have a picture of this guy. But this guy, for decades, was one of the most feared criminals in the Glasgow underworld.
Yeah.
I mean, he ran rackets, drug sales. He had particular expertise in armed robberies.
Cool.
But
Tommy.
what's strange though, well, a lot of his rivals and accomplices were prosecuted and jailed. He never ended up having to deal with the police.
Oh,
Never
I
caught
wonder
much flack from
why.
the police. Yeah.
Hmm.
So Campbell said that McGraw started the blaze that killed the Doyle family. And so accusing someone so Campbell got out of prison and here he is vocally, fingering McGraw here, saying like this is the guy that he's not snitching, but he's, claiming that McGraw, one of the most feared, leaders of the criminal Glasgow's underworld here, was responsible for this murder.
This isn't
So
going to end well for Campbell.
no, I mean word gets
No.
around that someone's a bit of a loudmouth. So in April 2002, McGraw and one of his thugs spotted Campbell in a park, and they stabbed him a couple of times in the buttocks, and
Okay.
then they weighed in on him with a 7-iron golf club.
I
So
don't. I don't know
brutal
anything about.
thrashing.
I don't know anything about golf. Is that one of the heavier golf clubs? Is it? Is it?
I
I
don't know
don't know.
either.
Is it
It's
a
metal
putter?
golf club. I,
Yeah,
I
you've
think it would
got
just
him.
hurt regardless.
Why do they have a golf club? It's a bit of a weird thing to be walking around with. A golf
maybe
club.
that maybe that was like his, gangster symbol or something, like,
A
his
golf club.
trademark weapon. It's like
Yeah.
he's a golfer,
He's the
he
clubber.
just he's a clubber. Campbell barely escaped with his life here. But soon after, Tam McGraw's, I love that name, Tam McGraw,
Tam.
his
Yeah.
criminal empire started to fall apart with several of his close associates being murdered. He then fled to his fortified properties in Spain,
Oh
where he
God.
died of a heart attack in 2007 at the young age of 55.
It's like sexy beast.
You can't cheat death. Yeah, he's
You
a
can't.
criminal that was fleeing to the south of Spain. But police never, really put much credence into what Campbell was saying. They never reopened the murder investigation. I'm sure they're on Tam's payroll. Um, I mean, there are many in the underworld who did believe that McGraw was a police informant. And so he was informing, snitching on his rivals while also, paying the police handsomely for protection. The cops let him carry on with his criminal enterprises in exchange for squealing on the lesser villains. So he was kind of eliminating his competition by it's almost like the cops are on his payroll, cops are in his gang.
Yeah, it's tale as old as
Um,
time.
there have even been claims that officers gave him drugs that they had confiscated in raids so he could sell them on the street and cut them in on a little bit of profit.
So so
So
corrupt.
sketchy.
Yeah.
So sketchy. Um, so the ice cream wars kind of petered out, especially after Doyle, after all the heat that was put on with that case. But it
Literal.
continued for a few more years to like the mid to late 80s, and the housing schemes. There were minor acts of revenge here and there. But eventually, though, the ice cream van business kind of stopped being a lucrative business in Glasgow, because ice cream is available at corner stores now. There are more corner stores. So, you didn't really need to have these ice cream mobile shops coming out to the outskirts of town. You could just go to a corner store, get your ice cream, get your toilet paper. Um, and today, I mean, there still are ice cream trucks,
There are.
but it's in serious decline. There's only a few thousand in the UK now.
Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a shame. They're so delightful with their jingles when they go
I
by.
like them. I have fond memories of the ice cream trucks. Here when I lived,
I was about
not
to
that,
ask.
not in K Town, but when I lived in Hollywood, you'd hear this one that would come by and it always played the Godfather theme.
That's
Like,
not
I thought it was
menacing at
really
all.
ominous. It's just weird. It's like, and it was just like this. And they're always helado trucks. It's always Mexican ice cream. Helado is ice cream in Spanish.
The one
But
here is the Scooby Doo Mystery Machine. One of the ones here.
wait, it looks like the Mystery Van.
It's painted up exactly the same, and it plays the Scooby Doo theme, but it's the jingle of Scooby Doo.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that used to be in my old neighborhood where I used to live closer to the city. But that was cool to just see driving around.
Who's
Just
driving it? Shaggy?
just a man with a mask.
What kind of
Usually,
mask is he wearing?
I don't know, but it would take some meddling kids to to
To
figure it
unmask
out.
him, figure it
Yes.
out. Many housing schemes in Glasgow have banned the ice cream vans.
Still to this day.
Well, to this day, they've banned the vans not for what you think, not because of drugs. It's because of
Oh.
concerns about childhood obesity and
Oh
noise
God.
pollution, not because of violence. Not like the ice cream men are going to fight each other. So they just don't want fat, sodbuster Glaswegians.
Yeah, they're happy with the violence, but they just don't want the fatties.
But the trend of hawking drugs under the guise of a friendly neighborhood ice cream man still continues to this day, especially in New York. And that's one thing I remember even in the 90s, I had heard that there are ice cream trucks in New York City that were selling blow and selling ecstasy and other drugs. I never actually bought drugs from an ice cream truck in New York City, but I bought ice cream. Mr. Softy is one of the best soft serve ice creams I've ever had.
It's a classic.
Um, and the Mr. Softy trucks are ubiquitous in New York City. But I recall in the 90s, which obviously now that it's legalized in New York City, it's not going to be an issue anymore. But in the Lower East Side, they had these like juice bars, like where you go in and you get like orange juice or apple juice or whatever, freshly squeezed juice. But it was like these sort of like barren juice bars. I remember thinking it was really weird. Like you go in there and it'd be like two things on the menu. It's like orange juice or grapefruit juice, and that's it. And this whole storefront, and there would be like two gangsta dudes, like with big gold chains, just sitting there. And so if you went in and you had the card, and you could be like, here, then they'd be like, all right, and they'd lock the door and then pull out all this weed, and then that's when you just bought your weed. And sometimes other drugs too, like mushrooms or blow. But then if like if there was a customer in there, like a tourist or something, they'd all be like, all right, what you want? And then like making orange juice, and you just kind of had to wait till the tourists leave. But yeah, the juice bars were pretty fairly common. Sometimes they were like all Rasta dudes that would be in there. It's pretty funny.
When I was a teenager, my actual weed dealer was also the Chinese takeaway delivery driver. So you just used to ring him up and be like, "Hey, it's me. Can I get some spring rolls?"
God, that's so convenient.
And then 20 minutes later, he would show up and you'd get your weed, you'd pay him, and you'd get some spring rolls. So it was
When
like
I
the
was in
best business.
Yeah, and it's so convenient too. When I was in college in Ann Arbor, we had the same deal at the backdoor pizza place. You'd order pizza, but if you said the code word,
With
like,
yeah.
yeah, it's like, extra oregano or whatever it was, they would come over and they'd bring your bag, and inside would be a bag of weed.
And a
Oh, it was
pizza.
great.
It's just so clever. Do you know what? That's what they should start doing in LA. They should start doing door drop off weed with pizzas and fries. I would
It's
subscribe to that.
convenient. Yeah.
Very convenient.
Um, but yeah, I always thought it was kind of funny, especially the gangsters making juice for you. And sometimes you had to buy a juice too, like just to make it like seem legitimate.
Well, you don't want to get the cotton mouth. You do get cotton mouth when you smoke the weed. So it makes sense to have the juice with the juice.
I suppose, but I just was like, come on, I just want a dime bag. Go smoke my weed. Leave me alone. But as recently as 2013, police arrested a Brooklyn truck driver for selling cocaine and oxycodone from his ice cream van. Undercover officers said you had to ask for a vanilla ice cream cone and you'd receive cocaine in a straw hat.
Vanilla's a bit obvious, isn't it?
Well, they called the operation Operation Snow Cone.
I like it. Is that as good as special chimes unit? I don't know. I think it's on
The
par.
Special Chimes Unit.
I
That
think
should be a name of a band or at least an
special
album.
special. I don't know. It sounds a bit like Jimmy Savile could be in the special chimes unit.
Would you buy ice cream from Jimmy Savile?
I'm old enough that Jimmy Savile would find me quite repulsive. So yeah, why not?
There's a movie that came out about the ice cream wars in 1984. Bill Forsyth wrote and directed the movie called Comfort and Joy.
Okay, I've never heard
And
of
it
that.
starred, yeah, it starred Bill Patterson as a radio host who tries to broker peace between two warring ice cream vending families in Glasgow.
Right. So
Oh,
yeah, it's
check
like
it out. Comfort and Joy.
the Warriors set in Glasgow.
Yeah. Pretty interesting story. People check it. It's episode 787 here, sick and wrong. We have some news stories come up next. We have some good stories this week, actually. I found like this really
Nice.
random one. It reminded me of Breaking Bad.
Mm,
Yeah.
really?
We'll get some phone calls a little later in the show, but first, here's a word about our Patreon page. All right. The ice cream was.
The ice cream man cometh.
I got your ice cream, and you can't have none.
No, because you're on the
Can't
welfare.
afford. Yeah.
You scream, I scream. We all scream
I'll
for ice
scream for ice
cream.
cream.
Tis true.
Do our Scottish listeners know about ice cream, the ice cream wars? You guys know about the ice cream wars?
I don't think there's anybody from Scotland in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
I wonder how many
probably
people have. What is Morecam? Do you know that? Gina says Morecam.
say Markham. Markham.
Morecambe?
Markham's like it's near Blackpool. It's about hour and a bit away from me. Probably more than an hour and a half. It's just a coastal town banging antique shops. And there's some
Not
really
a
good.
shithole?
No, it's a shithole. It's on the coast, but there's some banging antique shops and some really good fish and chip shops. Half the time, I would rather go there than Blackpool, but Blackpool's where all the pubs are.
Oh, there's more pubs in
Oh my god,
Blackpool.
I love feasts. Do you have the ice cream feasts, Dee?
What's a feast?
So it's kind of like a chocolate ice cream. It's like, yeah, chocolate, and then it's surrounded by chocolate ice cream, and then another layer of chocolate, but the chocolate has hazelnuts in it. I'm not describing it very well.
Feast.
A feast, a chocolate feast.
All right, hold on one second. Is this it? Let me see. Tell me if this is a feast.
You're gonna share your screen.
Yeah, let me see. It's taking forever on this thing.
I always get an ice cream wafer. That's what I always get because it's very special and you can't
What's
get
an ice cream wafer?
Google that next because you can't get ice cream wafers anywhere but from an ice cream van. So that's why I always get
Ice
an ice
cream
cream
wafer.
wafer.
All right, let's see here. Is this a feast? Let me see.
By Walls. I think it's by Walls.
All right, tell me if this is it.
Mint. I love mint ice cream too.
Is that a feast?
Yeah, that's a feast. So you see, it's like chocolate surrounded by chocolate that has nuts in.
So wait, so is this just like a little like a fudgesicle wrapped
Yes.
in chocolate ice
Yeah.
cream, wrapped in a chocolate outside?
Yeah, the texture of that is hard to describe, but I do really like a feast.
But is this like what kind of texture is this in the
That
middle
will
here?
be like a fudgesicle, like you're saying, because it's not quite an ice cream, but it's not like an ice lolly. It's like that. So do ice cream wafer from, you might have to write ice cream van.
What's it called? The ice cream wafer?
An ice cream wafer, and then maybe put ice cream van.
Let's see here.
There you go. That thing.
This
An
thing.
yeah. And the one underneath that is an oyster, but oysters are very sexual when people eat them.
Where's the oyster?
You see the third one along. It's like a shell, but you've got to put the ice cream in. But it's
Oh,
like
this thing.
it's like giving someone cunnilingus when you have to eat them. I've watched many people eat them and just thought it's so sexual. But I love an ice cream wafer. You've got to get them from the ice cream man.
This thing. This nougat wafer.
Yes, an ice cream wafer.
It's
You
just vanilla
can.
ice cream with like a. Is this chocolate or is
It's
this a?
soft serve ice cream inside of like a nougat wafer, yeah. And you can't get them anywhere else but an ice cream van.
I've never really heard of that. Here's some Mr. Softy. I think I was talking about Mr. Softy in when I was in Manhattan back in the day, my friend Kessler and his friend Danny. I forgot about that guy. But they were both fat asses. And it was crazy. Like as soon as you'd hear the chime of Mr. Softy, they would run as fast as their fat legs could carry them to try to find because they didn't want the truck to leave. So and they could pinpoint the location, like which block it was on to find it. But I remember being like, wow, these guys are, really into Mr. Softy. I'd never had it before. And so we get there and I was just like, sure, because I love soft serve ice cream. I like the twist, the chocolate and vanilla. So I was like, "Oh, let's have a twist." And that guy Danny was just like, "What kind of sprinkles are you gonna get?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not too into sprinkles." And he was just like, it was as if I like pissed all over his ice cream. He was just like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "But they give you the sprinkles." And I was just like, "Yeah, I just don't want them." He's like, "You have to have sprinkles."
Did you
And
get sprinkles?
yeah, I ended up because they were bitching about it so much, and because it was like free, and you gotta have sprinkles, and I was just like, "No, you guys are
I
mother.
got my ice cream. I got my
You guys
ice
are
cream.
crazy."
You can't
Do you guys have
have
this
one.
over there? I like these. I haven't had one in a long time.
A king
A king
cone.
cone.
No, we don't have king cones.
You never
Oh,
had a
but
king
oh
cone?
my God, they look exactly like a cornetto. That's a cornetto. Just one cornetto.
What's it
Give
called?
it to me. The
Where
taste of
Where do you get a
Italy.
cornetto?
The world's ice cream. You can get cornetto from the shops, but they're an ice
Oh
cream
yeah,
brand.
this is the same thing as this is like a fancy king
Oh my
cone.
God, I love mint choc chip cornettos. Are so good.
Did you ever have these? This is something that still gives me PTSD.
What do you
Baskin
get?
Robbins ice cream cakes.
We don't have ice cream cakes here, and I've always wanted to try one.
I fucking hate ice cream cakes.
Why?
I just think they're unnatural. I don't think
Is it
you
an
don't
ice
need
cream?
fucking ice cream in your cake. You need cake in your cake.
Okay,
You need
right.
ice cream
So
in your ice cream.
so it's a cake that has ice cream in the middle of it.
Yeah, look. It looks like this. It's like here's cake
Well,
and there's ice cream.
is that not a gatto?
A gatto. That's a cat.
In the gatto. No, type it gatto. G.
This is a classic ice cream cake there.
See, that kind of looks like a
It's like
gatto.
frosting with cake.
Type in Black Forest gatto.
My mother loved ice cream cake. So every single birthday, any event, ice cream cake. So we would always have like 7 different ice cream cakes in varied states of
Decay.
heating. Yeah, but like in the freezer. And there's just like I just thought they were disgusting. I don't know. Disgusting. Would you call it
Disgusting.
gato?
Black Forest gatto. They, oh, it's weird how it says cake.
Gato?
GAT. There
Like
you go.
gateau?
Yeah, EAU. Black Forest gatto is one of my favorite desserts
How's that? Where's the ice cream?
because it's a chilled dessert. You have it
Yeah, but
usually.
it's not actual ice cream. It's like
I suppose it's like cream,
yeah,
isn't it?
cream. This
Um,
actually is more of like a cake. This is what I would consider a cake.
it is a cake. Black Forest gatto is so good. I want that right now.
Did you guys have Cookie Puss?
No, we've had this discussion before.
You never had a Cookie Puss?
Never had
Look at him, he's so cute.
fucking cookie puss.
Yeah, Carvel
Oh,
Cookie Puss.
isn't he terrifying? I cannot.
If my parents got Cookie Pusses, I would have been happy with that. I never had a Cookie Puss till I went to New York. I think it was an East Coast thing.
Put in a Colin the caterpillar.
Oh shit, we forgot to talk
I
about
know.
that.
I realized that halfway through.
Oh, I thought I had it. I must have. Ah,
Wouldn't you just be terrified if, like, you brought out Colin the caterpillar if you didn't know what he was? Do you have Swiss
God,
rolls?
that is weird. Has anyone ever made a human Colin the Caterpillar?
I bet your
Are you
brother
gonna? You should
has.
make that movie.
No, your brother's made Colin the caterpillar, definitely.
Wait, what were you saying?
Do you have Swiss rolls?
Oh wait, I've had those before. Those
Well,
are good.
that's what Colin the caterpillar is. He's a Swiss
Yeah, these
roll.
are good.
Yeah. Oh, do
I
you
haven't
like
had one of
Swiss
these in a long
rolls?
time. Yeah.
Oh, they're cheap over here. You can get Swiss rolls.
You can get them here too. Do you guys
Yeah.
have like Twinkies and all that gross hostess
No,
stuff?
we don't have any. Hostess doesn't exist here
You've
because
never had that before? You never had
I've had
Twinkie
no, I've had
or
Twinkies, but like they're a five or a box. Why would I ever do?
I
Why
just
would I
think
ever
they're
do
just
that?
I just think they're gross. I'd never have that.
They're not as good as like an eclair. I would rather have an eclair,
No, like I feel like if you're gonna, splurge and get the calories of eating something like that, then why would you have something good?
like a Black Forest Gatto, a whole one to go
Yeah,
with.
or like or an eclair, or like, I don't even, I'm not a big fan of sweets like that though.
Like, yeah, like every once in a while, but you don't want to end up like Haley Hasselhoff eating
Yeah,
them
you don't
every
want to be a
day.
big plus size
Sodbuster.
sod buster. We talk about on the sick and wrong news this week. David Hasselhoff's daughter is on the cover of Playboy, the first plus size model to be on the cover of Playboy Germany.
Yeah, not Playboy proper, Playboy Germany.
Yeah, but we kind of, well, if you listen to the news, I'm sure some of you guys are on the Patreon there, but Kate and I get in a bit of like a bit of a debate. Kate's kind of a body shamer. She likes to shame women's bodies.
I'm not
I'm more
shaming
about
her.
body positivity. Like, I'm very inclusive. If you want to be a plus size, you should be a plus size. But Kate's very particular about who's thick and who's plus size.
She's not thick, she's fat. There's a difference between being thick and fat.
Body shamer over there. That's what that is.
Well, yeah, you should be shamed for being like that fat because it's unhealthy. Nobody should be looking at that and being like, "Oh yeah, that should be my ideal body type." It's unhealthy. You'll die young. Just like when you're underweight, you'll die young. You got to be right in the middle. Have some fat on you. Don't be too thin. Don't be too fat.
All right. Let's get into some story time here.
Let us do it.
Little news stories. All right. I got a good one. All right. Da-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So the first story we have here is about a guy who's like a real life version of Walter White from Breaking Bad. Like, I know you don't like Breaking Bad,
I do not.
but you're wrong. It's a great show,
It is
and
so overrated, and it could
it's
only happen in
not
America,
overrated.
where you have to pay for your healthcare. Story couldn't have happened anywhere else.
It could happen anywhere, and it's a brilliant story, and it's an excellent series.
It's not.
And yeah, if you were able to intellectually, accept Breaking Bad and understand the genius behind it, then
I
then
love
then you'd like it.
getting Breaking Bad mansplained to me. It's one of my favorite hobbies.
I enjoy Breaking Bad. I also like Better Call Saul, but this guy literally is a Walter White, taking away the medical aspect of it.
Okay.
Because that was really a very little part of the show. It was only the first couple seasons. Because then he goes into remission, but he might be, in remission from the disease that was killing him. But there's a mental disease happening, which is obviously the case of this guy. Beloved high school basketball coach was killed trying to rob a Mexican drug cartel. Why, Kate? Why would a basketball coach in a high school need to rob a Mexican drug cartel?
Well, how much does a basketball coach make? Like 20 grand a year?
No, he was in North Carolina. He was a popular basketball coach. I bet you he probably was pulling in 60K.
Yeah? Maybe he's done it for the frills.
That's what I'm wondering. Or maybe he was trying to start his own criminal organization.
And that as well on the side.
He should have got an ice cream truck. Barney Harris, such a good basketball coach name, Barney Harris, Coach Barney, was said to have made a positive impact on the students. And he had a motto. His motto was all love, no fear. He
He's
pretty
done
much
it for
just
the
took,
frills.
well, he pretty
Yeah.
much just took the no fear logo and just added all love in the beginning. Just confusing. Isn't that confusing? I don't get it. Police now say he died in a hail of bullets after targeting a Mexican drug cartel.
Like Ned Kelly.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, definitely. It's kind of odd. At first, I was also, we'll get into it, but I have some theories about what motivated him to take on the Mexican drug cartel. Students and parents joined in mourning the sudden death of a very popular high school basketball coach earlier this week in Monroe, North Carolina. They finally recalled his uplifting "all love, no fear" motto. I think that's just weird. Like if a coach is just like, "It's all love, no
No
fear."
fear. Are they going to
I was
chisel that on his grave? It feels like they're going
I was thinking he was trying to like, you know, groom me into like diddling me or
to.
something. You
It's
know,
all love, no
don't
fear.
fear my dick that I'm about to put into your anus. I'd be like, no, this is weird. This is weird. I have fear
Hey,
here.
it's all love.
Um, he also gave his students a lot of encouragement and motivation, and he had a smile that will forever remain etched in our hearts.
God,
He had an
that's
indelible impression on these
terrifying.
kids. You
Terrifying.
know, I would think, I would think if I had like a coach or a high school, he's probably a gym teacher or whatever. And I thought he was really cool and I admired him just because he was a really cool gym teacher with this hip, all fear, no love or love, whatever. Love.
All fear, no love. That's actually, I prefer all fear, no love, because if you're going to go and take on another school uh, when you're playing sports, don't you want to cause them fear?
Well,
You don't
that's the
want to love
thing.
them. It should be all fear, no love.
Yeah, that's the Nazi motto there. But yeah, but if I had a teacher that I respected and I thought he was super cool, and then I found out that he was like moonlighting as like a drug cartel member, fighting like drug cartels and like running his own criminal organization, I'd be like, this guy's the fucking coolest teacher ever.
He's even cooler now, definitely.
I mean, at my high school, we just had pedophiles. It's like,
Yeah, gaudy.
no, we had 4 pedophiles while I was in high school. That's crazy.
And yet you never got touched because you weren't one of the pretty ones.
What are you saying, Kate?
That you
What's
weren't
your,
one of the pretty ones. It's that simple. Otherwise, you would have been touched.
are you pedo shaming me
I'm pedo
for
shaming you. You were
not being an attractive
an
child?
ugly Jewish fat child.
Yeah, I never, maybe, maybe they thought that I would be resistant to their grooming efforts.
Yeah, you probably were. It's that
You
they
know,
also didn't touch steel either, did they?
well, he is a useless pickle, doesn't he?
He does.
Um, so anyway, a couple days later, after their mourning the loss of their beloved high school basketball coach and teacher here, the local sheriff dropped a bombshell. Teacher Barney Dale Harris died while trying to rob a Mexican drug cartel. And
And
now everybody is flummoxed.
it's
They don't know
crazy
how to make sense of this.
that they have a Mexican drug cartel in North Carolina.
Actually, I think that makes sense. The reason being is because you're shipping a lot of drugs. There's different points. Like you're shipping drugs
Of
all the way from the
course.
south all the way up to New York. And so I bet you they just funnel in, cocaine, speed, you know, all the different drugs, and these are just safe houses along the
But
way.
why North Carolina? You think it would be like Philadelphia?
I'm sure they have it's a huge drug cartel. It's the Jalisco New Generation. It's one of the biggest. So I'm sure
Right.
they have like houses, like stash houses all over.
Okay.
But this one was in North Carolina, or yeah, North Carolina. So Harris taught Spanish and basketball. He was a basketball coach at the Union Academy Charter School. He was found dead last week in a mobile home belonging to the Jalisco New Generation cartel, widely considered to be the most powerful and ruthless drug cartel in Mexico. Harris, 40 years old here, seemed to have come prepared for a fight. He was found in the stash house wearing a bulletproof vest, gloves, and a face cover. He had been
Cool.
shot multiple times, riddled with bullets. It was almost like an old Western style shootout, adding that 3 neighboring homes were left riddled with bullet holes. So
Oh,
it was like a
wow.
full on like gunfight in this trailer park. Investigators found 30 shell casings in and around the trailer. They seized 1.2 kilos of suspected cocaine, 5 guns, and $7,000 in cash. Do you think
Okay.
they would have more in a stash house?
Maybe they've just been to the bank that day.
But 1.2 kilos of coke is a lot.
That is a lot.
So yeah. So apparently this is what went down. Harris suited up in his body armor, along with his brother-in-law, Stephen Alexander Stewart Jr., also in body armor, went to the trailer in order to rob a cartel member named Alonzo Beltran Lara. The attempted attack wasn't meant to be a one-off either. Harris and Stewart were tracking the cartel's movements like throughout North Carolina, and they had a map where they pinpointed all the different stash houses that they were planning to rob.
Oh wow, this is like the Kelly gang.
Yeah, I mean, this was a coordinated effort. They were basically going to. I bet you what they planned. I bet you it was the brother that went to the basketball coach. It's just like two of us can go in there. It's going to be like a 10-minute deal. We go
Yeah.
in, we take the drugs, we take the money, and then we just hit five of these places, and we'll be fine. No one will suspect you. You're a gym teacher.
Yeah. Don't mess with the cartels. Come on. Come on.
No, I mean they're like the most fearsome drug cartel in all of Mexico. I'd
And
leave them alone.
they will torture you as well. They
I've seen Scarface. I know what they do in bathtubs.
I've seen Live Leak.
Yeah. But no, I mean, seriously, why do you want to take on the cartel? That's the question here. And I have a theory on it.
Okay.
The I 85 and I 40 corridor has caused Alamance County here in North Carolina to be a great place to deposit their drugs. And so there's a growing presence of the drug cartel here in this area. I think it's because it's kind of like, right in the middle between New York and, and Florida. So you have like you can run drugs right from Miami all the way up to New York, and then it's also in the middle where you can bring drugs straight to the Midwest.
Okay.
So it's
Right.
kind of it just seems like a convenient area. Um, Investigators believe that Harris arrived at the trailer while the alleged drug runner who lived there, 18-year-old Alonzo Beltran Lara, wasn't home. So the teacher was dressed in a bulletproof vest, face covering gloves. He went inside to wait for him. So this is kind of a weird thing. I wonder if he was tipped off by one of his students.
What about where this could be or
Yeah,
how
like this
long
is
he'll
the stash
be?
house. Is like there's going to be like a bunch of cash in there. This is where we buy our drugs. So I wonder if he was tipped off. And it's like we should just rob this thing.
He's probably buying drugs on the side for himself. I don't necessarily think it was the students.
Well, the weird thing though, this is what I thought was odd. So he went into the house and he waited for the drug runner to return.
Yeah, that's
So
odd.
why not just rob the place?
I would, yeah, rob it, and maybe,
But he didn't do that.
maybe because they were expecting more, like you said.
Or he's a vigilante.
Oh, he's a vigilante.
I think he
Yeah,
was trying to like take out the cartels. And so he had his body armor outfit and he was in there waiting for them to come and so he could kill them all.
to send a
Maybe
message.
rob them. Maybe rob them too. I mean, but I think he might have been a vigilante.
Okay, yeah, I can see what you're
That's my
saying.
theory here. So
Yeah.
it's not clear exactly how the violence unfolded, but around 1 a.m., multiple 911 calls came in from mobile home park residents reporting gunshots. None of the residents were injured, but as the bullets flew, they punctured a handful of homes that were nearby. One projectile even hit a power box, which knocked out the trailer's electricity. People were scared to death. Um, Not surprising. I mean, I doubt the double wides are bulletproof. But do you think that like gunshots are probably commonplace in the trailer parks?
Possibly. Wouldn't you be so
You know?
annoyed 1 a.m.? Like you're probably high, you're probably watching television, and now this is all going on. You got to hit the decks. I'd be
Well,
annoyed.
you in the UK, you probably have never had to hear a drive by.
No, they don't happen here.
Try to do a drive by with a knife. Um, but yeah, no, here, not in my new neighborhood, but in K Town, we definitely heard them. Um, and downtown, you used to hear it every now and then. It's like it's really weird, and even in San Francisco, I live in the Mission. You'd hear the drive bys, not often, but I lived by a project when I lived in the Mission, right by the Valencia Gardens projects. Every now and then, you just like at like 1:30 a.m. you just hear boom, 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 and then a car just like taking off. And it's super
Yeah.
loud. It's very jarring. So I can imagine at 1 a.m. You're sitting there, watching like reruns of Brooklyn Nine-Nine and or The Office, and you're sitting there, all of a sudden you start hearing like not just four gunshots and a car taking off, like 50 rounds of gunshots, like a full-on fight. I would be like, what the fuck?
You'd be hitting the decks, wouldn't you? You'd just
Oh, totally.
cancel.
I would be, yeah. I mean, I would just think that they were coming for me or something. I'd be down on the ground. Um, so deputies arrived to find Harris dead in a bedroom, still wearing his bulletproof vest. The drug dealer, the drug runner, Lara, his hands and feet were bound and he was shot execution style.
Oh, so he was gonna send a message.
I think so. I think he was like taking them out. Though he was still clinging to life when police got there, he died in a nearby hospital. Deputies did not disclose who they believe shot Lara, but I mean, I think it's fairly obvious here. The trailer looked like it had been ransacked, and they were looking for money or drugs or both. Deputies found a bag with the 1.2 kilos of cocaine and $7,000 in cash. Now, his brother-in-law Stuart, fled following the firefight, but he was found in his home with related objects tied to the crime scene. So he
Okay.
was charged with first-degree burglary and first-degree murder. He's being held
Oh.
without bond. So maybe, I mean, that makes me think like maybe he was there to rip them off. But the news of the violent circumstances surrounding Harris's death has rocked Monroe, where Union Academy, the school, issued a statement 2 days earlier calling on students to wear school colors to celebrate Harris, their beloved teacher. They lauded him, saying that his motto, all love, no fear, will be forever a part of who we are at the school. Love each other and live each day to the fullest. Just go and rob drug cartels, take their cocaine, take their money. Have no
No
fear.
fear. No fear.
But on Wednesday, the sheriff suggested that the beloved basketball coach had been moonlighting as a violent criminal. And so
Okay.
now
Yeah.
the school's kind of confused and they're shocked and they don't know if they're going to issue another statement saying we're not going to abide by the all love no fear motto anymore. Now, I think they're questioning what they thought of this teacher. Harris left behind a wife and three kids. He had been working at the Union Academy since July 2017. Um, People loved his family. People loved the coach. They say it's been a very difficult time now with the revelation from the sheriff. There's a GoFundMe that's been set up for the Harris's family, um, which is full of praise for the teacher. That's weird. Like, why wouldn't you just use the drug money? I bet you this guy. You never watched Breaking Bad, but Walt had a stash in a storage unit that was just like a pallet of all because he couldn't put his cash in the bank. He had so much cash. It was like a pallet, like 6 feet high, just of stacked with money. I bet this guy had a storage unit, or I bet he probably still does. No one knows where it is now.
Yeah, but
Filled
that
with
would also
cash,
be
cocaine.
police evidence now, sadly.
Well, I wonder because in Breaking Bad, Walt's wife, at first he hid it from her, but then he eventually like came clean. He took her to the storage unit, and then she got into it, like
Well,
helping
yeah.
launder money and all that. So I wonder if Harris's wife knew about this. I
And
mean,
his
his brother-in-law
crazy
went with him.
schemes. Yeah.
I mean, where are you going to hide the body armor and the guns?
I don't know. Husbands have many secrets from their wives, don't they?
I guess maybe at a secret cave where he
Secret
keeps
cave.
his like bat-shaped outfits and weaponry. Um, The sheriff struck an ominous tone here on Wednesday, saying that Harris's death may not be the last violence tied to the cartel. When we're dealing with the Mexican drug cartels, somebody is going to die. The Mexican cartels, they don't forget. They're going to pay somebody back somewhere. So I bet you they come for the wife because there's probably a lot of money missing.
I was thinking they're going to come for the brother-in-law who's still alive. They're going to come and
Well,
kill
he's in
him.
jail though.
They're
Well, they
going to
probably
get
will get him in
him.
jail.
It's going to
Yeah.
be even easier to get him in jail than it is anywhere
Um,
else.
he was arrested and charged with first degree murder, first degree burglary. Um, it's not clear if he has retained counsel yet, but the investigation is ongoing and there might be additional charges.
Ooh.
I'm going to follow up on this one because I want to see if there were other drug cartel stash houses that were robbed in the area, or if they find like a storage unit with a ton of money.
You love this storage unit of money idea. Of
Well,
course you
I
do.
mean, where else are you going to put your money?
In a storage unit.
I mean, I guess you could maybe get a safety deposit box at a bank,
Oh,
but
but
when you're
that's
talking
a lot
like
of
a
faff in
pallet
it.
full of money,
I would love a pallet full of money. I could spend the shit out of that.
that would be all right. Yeah, you got to
One,
go rob some cartels.
no, that's okay. I don't want to do that.
What do you have here for the second story?
For my story, I have that a pastor's wife confesses to plotting his murder along with their lover after a months long tryst. Da,
Ooh,
da, da.
a love triangle.
Well, is it? Kirsty Dowell Evans and Khalil Deemy Square were taken into custody on Thursday after she allegedly admitted to her role in the killing of her husband, Pastor David Evans. So this does say that it's a love triangle, but it only remains that for now. They would have motel room trysts, and the Oklahoma pastor engaged in with them both, with his wife and the other man. And it turned murderous last week when he was shot to death with his own gun in his own bed as he slept.
Whoa, so this pastor was totally into MMF threesomes.
MMF reasons. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was totally what they were into.
You think they were double penning his wife?
Yeah, I think she was just being filled with cock.
God loves that.
Yeah,
God approves.
I'm sure
God
it says in the
approves.
Bible somewhere that you can do this and it's fine.
Just go find a guy and just fill up her holes. That's what God thinks you should do.
Well, that's what God is there for, to fill you up spiritually.
All
So,
love,
all love, no
no
fear.
fear.
So, Christy Evans, who is 47, she was taken into custody after allegedly confessing to her role in the killing of her husband, Pastor David Evans, who was 50, inside of their home in the city of Ada, Oklahoma. So 26-year-old, so their lover, 26-year-old
Music.
Khalil
Wow.
Deemy Square, he's been arrested too. So she asked her lover Square to kill her husband, telling him that she'd been subjected to ongoing verbal abuse from her spouse. And the two allegedly plotted the pastor's murder while he was abroad on a religious mission. So this pastor's off, he's doing the Lord's work, and they're doing Satan's work,
They're
planning his
conspiring to murder
murder.
him. See, this is the problem with MMFs.
Is it?
Because well, it's inevitable that obviously you're seeking another person because you just don't have the equipment to satisfy your wife. So you find another
That's
guy
true.
that does, and now she's like, yeah, I don't need the small dick, the chewed up Tootsie Roll. Like I'm gonna go, yeah, she wants like the full thing. And so yeah, you get just kind of discarded. And that's what's happening here.
So he shouldn't have done it, should have he? He shouldn't have been engaging in this tryst. But he could have fallen in love with him as well.
I guess, yeah, I wonder, was it like a bisexual thing? Like, do you think he was into the guy as well?
Well, it must have been because the affair between the three of them went on for months. So he can't
Well,
not
because
have been liking it.
he might have been into cuckolding too, like
He could have
watching.
been. Well, he is a
Yeah,
pastor, isn't he? So that could make sense.
God loves cuckolding.
I know that passage from the Bible. That's like page 12.
Yeah,
It's
it's
one of
in
the
some
10 Commandments.
the book of Deuteronomy.
So she initially told authorities, like they always do, that an intruder had entered her home and shot her husband. This is when he had obviously been found dead. And evidence collected at the scene, and they, conducted interviews. They quickly led them to believe that it was the victim's wife and Square. And she eventually just confessed to it. And she talked about the three of them had been having a
Amateurs.
continuous affair, and they would book the same room at the same local Super 8 motel. And it had been going on for months. Investigators looked back, and they could see how often they were going there to bang, to have this illicit threesome.
Did you look at a picture of her? Is she attractive in any
I
way?
actually didn't look at a picture of them. I wasn't interested. I wanted to look at I wanted to see how often they were banging.
Well, I'm also wondering so this young guy, I wonder where they met this young guy. Because they're in their
Um,
50s, right? They're middle aged, right?
yeah, Tinder.
Oh, you think it was Tinder? A
Yeah.
creepy couple looking for a third?
Well, this does answer your question from before, though, because yeah, they were meeting up for this threesome all the time. At least once a week, they were meeting up for a threesome. But then, Christy and Square, they decided that they were also going to start banging. So I think you're right. She was sick
Yeah.
of his chewed up Twinkie dick, and she wanted the chocolate Swiss roll to fill her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She wanted the whole thing, the real deal, the full sausage.
And she did it in secret too. She wasn't brazen about it. What she did was when they were having the tryst at the motel room, she just gave gave him her phone number on a piece of paper, and then they just started texting each other, and they were just sending each other like hoary messages, probably nudes as well.
So I wonder how they must have been. I bet you the pastor was arranging it, probably over email.
Yes, the pasta
And then
email.
she had to like surreptitiously slip her phone number to her paramour, who has a way bigger Todger, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, he's got a Swiss roll cock.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
he's got some girth.
he's got
Women love the girth.
And while he was away, so he went on his mission trip to Mexico while they were planning to murder him. He just moved into the house, just moved into the house and lived there with his
Wait,
Swiss roll
so
cock.
oh, okay, so the lover moved into the house with a big dick,
Yeah,
and
to
then
plan this murder, and they know this because his car was parked outside the house for days. This isn't like the brightest of sparks here, is it? If you're going to be planning a murder.
the other day, I was walking. Well, I was walking to the post office, but I live right by a place called the Pleasure Chest, which is a sex shop. And so as I was going to the post office, I was like, "Oh, I might just go into the Pleasure Chest. Haven't been here in a long time." And so I went to the Pleasure Chest, and I was just kind of looking at things, trying not to laugh. And you got to like be really slick if you take pictures in there because they get
Of
really upset.
course.
But one thing I was trying to take a picture, but the guy kept looking at me, so I couldn't really do it. Was this like these dick holsters. I can't really, I'm trying to describe them. It's like a big, massive black dick that you put your dick inside. So you like put your dick
Oh,
in the dick, and then you can, I'm assuming it's probably either for men or women, but it's like this thing was fucking massive. It was at least like a foot long. And I don't know what the
when you said
radius would be.
Dick holster, the first thing that came to mind was like a gun holster that you'd wear on your hip and you'd put your dildos in it. That's what I pictured.
They actually did have something like that, like a utility belt
Okay.
for
For
dildos. Yeah.
dildos, that would make
Well,
sense. That's
they had a strap
practical.
on with like a yeah, it had like a little belt on it. But no, this is like a thing. Like you put your cock in this silicone big mold of a bigger dick. So I
Right.
would be offended if
If a
my girlfriend was just like, do you mind using this thing? I'd be like, what?
yeah,
Like, but I don't know if I'd be offended. I would just be kind of crushed, like really, really
bought
gutted.
you a present.
She like brings me this present. It's like, seriously, you need this big, like, foot long dick holster.
Seriously,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
I
I
should have taken
do.
a picture of it. I'd never seen one of those before, but apparently they
Well,
make
apparently
those.
I haven't either because I thought it was a fucking gun holster belt for dildos.
Put my dildos in here.
How they conducted this stupid murder was on the night of March 22nd, she left the back door to their home opened. Uh, Swiss roll cock entered, and she handed him, her husband, the pastor's Magnum, research 9 millimeter, whatever that looks like, some bullets, and she just waited in the living room till she heard a pop sound, and then Square ran out the house. She went in the bedroom, found the pastor dead and making a gurgling sound, and she just called 911. And
Hold
that
on.
was it.
Do they have children?
Um, Not that I could tell by the
Oh,
story.
okay. All
No
right. Well,
children
then in that
pop up.
case, something like that would work. But if their kids were sleeping in the other room and she let this guy come in and murder their father,
Yeah.
that would be
Oh,
problematic.
that's worse, isn't it? So remember before I said she had been planning this murder and she convinced the lover because she said that her husband had been verbally abusive to her. She says that he had spent years calling her names like slut, fat, and ugly. And when she told this to Square, he replied back with, "Damn."
Well, he's right about the slut part. I don't know about
Yeah, clearly. Um, but she
damn.
she had been painting a totally different picture of her marriage online, as people tend to do. Because in the days leading up to her husband's killing, she had posted on Facebook numerous times about the love that they had for each other, telling her friends and all the people that could see her Facebook that he had left her a series of religious themed necklaces and personalized cards. There was one for each day that he was in Mexico. There was 5 personalized necklaces, ladies, she wrote. They had my name, initial, verse, charms, and everything in between. Truly beautiful. So every day I opened a card and I was reminded of how blessed, loved, and lucky I am. I love you so much, David! Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation
And the
mark.
next day, she like arranges the murder of this man.
Yes, of
Wow.
David. So
Yeah.
she's obviously in jail now.
Well,
So's
I
her
think she's
lover.
creating a pretense. She's also creating an alibi in a sense, but she's a shitty liar.
He obviously did those things though. He like, he left her some nice necklaces and a card for every day that he was away. How many husbands do that?
Yeah,
How
but
many
what did
husbands?
the card say? Did it say like you're fat
You're a
slut?
fat, stupid, ugly slut. And when I get back, we're having a threesome at that hotel. That's all that we can do to save this marriage. And so they're
Yeah,
both in jail in the Cleveland County Detention Center. Court dates have been scheduled for April. So the church that the pastor Evans was working at, they just expressed surprise. They asked for
but
privacy,
that
and they
he's a pervert
yeah, and they asked, and this is the little statement, very short statement that they gave out. We are aware that even pastors can succumb to human frailty, and we ask that our privacy be respected at this time as we as a church family grieve and process all of these events.
There's nothing I love better than Christian hypocrisy.
Yes,
I do.
obviously.
I love that when you see like who's that guy Ted Haggard, the mega church leader who is like
Oh, yeah.
completely against gay marriage. You know, he's like very anti like homosexuality and everything. Well, they found him in like a Best Western, just with like two male hookers, naked, just smoking meth.
Yeah. Having the night of his life. Why not?
Oh
Enjoy
yeah,
it.
yeah, no, totally. And it was a regular occurrence. Like the prostitutes, you know, the two escorts knew him by name. And then yeah, it came out and it was just like, yeah, that's Christian hypocrisy at its finest.
It is. But I mean, he could have been a cool pastor for all we know. Pasta, I'm saying it like the food. He was a cool pasta dish. No, best served cold.
Oh, he was into the double pen, but it sounds like he probably had to take the back door though. Smaller fit, you know?
Yeah, with his dried up Twinkie. No, what did you say? Chewed up Twinkie.
Chewed up Tootsie Roll. That's what it was. Wow. Well, there, that's tragic, but I think right there is a cautionary tale. You know, you
Um,
got to be wary. You got to check the dick size of the other M in the MMF
yeah, and I would also be wary of people who post constantly on their Facebook about how much they love their partner. This, they're probably
because
being filled by
behind
a
your back,
Swiss roll
yeah,
cock
they're
walking in.
conspiring to murder you.
They
That's
are.
what happens.
Hmm.
People send your story, cigarettepodcast at gmail.com. We have some phone calls coming up next. 323-522-4032. Remember, you can call the Cigarette hotline, keep it under 3 minutes. We have some good ones, actually. We always get good calls. Been getting some actually really good calls recently. And people have been email. You can email the show too. You can even send a Facebook voice message. So many different ways to be heard.
There
Really.
are.
Well, before we get to the calls, though, here's a word from Adam and Eve.
Right, I'm gonna go grab a drink.
Me too.
Drink time.
Mm, 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 mm.
I've trapped myself.
Hey there, Akatsuki Goku Black. It's a great name. I like that. Oh, they're not sexy. Knew they weren't sexy. Not surprised. Wait, Sophie, you've heard of those dick holster things? Oh, for me? Oh, Kate. I bet you Kate's probably gonna get whiskey. She likes her whiskey. I don't know what I'm gonna get. I know I'm gonna get. I'm gonna get some shitty beer. Okay. Who am I trying to fool? Um. All right. Hold on a second. You guys want to see a cool picture? I'm gonna show you a cool picture. Check it out. Check it out. It's a classic. I was a lot younger in this picture. I also feel like I'm too short for this to really work. Because I think I'd need to be maybe about 3 inches taller, and this would have worked a little bit better. But I mean, from a distance, I think it still works. I think it does. Now the question is that the guy from Maroon 5? I can't remember. Looks like him. Yeah, classic picture though. That's a classic. Oh wait, here's another one. Let me all right, hold on a second. Here's one too. Look at this one. I found a bunch of old pictures I was looking at recently.
Look
And
who's the guest. Chicha.
oh, there's Kate's cat. But anyway, this picture I was at I forget what I think it was a Mr. Bungle show or Tomahawk. It was something Mike Patton related. But that's the guy from It's Always Sunny, who was actually kind of cool. I thought he was Charlie Day.
Dennis. No, it's Dennis.
Dennis, yeah, yeah. I thought he was Charlie Day, but he was actually kind of a cool guy. What's his name? Glenn Howerton, right?
That's it.
Or is
Yeah.
it? Yeah. Look, Chi Chi. There's
Gonna
Kate's
have
cat.
some words for
Kate's
the.
Kate's cat
He's a murderer.
murdered and decapitated a bird.
He ate the
Three
bird's
birds,
head.
right?
He ate a bird's head.
Ate a bird's head. Clean off. Clean off. Yeah.
Killed 3 birds in the space of like 24 hours, and he ate one bird's head.
And
He's a
did he
bird
put it in your
killer.
bed?
Huh?
Did he put it in your bed? Like, where'd you find the head?
I was in here recording the overkill, and I could hear a ruckus outside, like in
It's
the
a ruckus.
hallway. And I went, so I like a pause, and I went outside, and he was lying on his back with the dead bird here, and he just looked at me, and there was fucking feathers everywhere. So I went ape shit. I picked him up and I chucked him in the bathroom. And then the next day, after I'd been mad at him all night, I went outside and there was a headless bird because he eats the heads off mice as well. So I know he ate the head of this
How
fucking
do you
bird.
eat the? What about the bones and everything?
He just
The beak.
squishes them. He ate the beak. It
How do
is
you?
like Charlie Day. I want the beak. He ate the beak, and then the next day, that very night, he brought back another bird. But I was really mad at him that time, and I locked him upstairs for like
Did
2
he eat the
hours.
bird's head? That bird's head too?
No, he only ate the one bird's head. This is health, by the way. This is a breakfast. I have beer and I have like some feta on a bit of bread.
That's healthy. All right, I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab beer.
Oh my god, Bane! I love Bane. I'm Brody. Yeah, he ate the beak. But what a minger. But I feel bad now because I've basically been punishing him all weekend. And now I have to go to work for like 40 hours. He'll be alone. So, like, poor guy. I shouldn't have been so harsh. But I hate it when he eats the birds. Like, fair enough, mice and shrews. But, like, he doesn't have to eat all these fucking birds. Cheers. I always get so hungry during this because I get up at like 5, and by this time I'm fucking starving. That's why I'm always talking about food on the podcast. I'm a hungry bitch. He won't occupy himself with more birds. No more birds. Oh my god, Bane is a killer too. Oh yeah, well Bane's a barn boy, isn't he? So he's definitely got the instinct. Chi Chi was a house cat. He wasn't even let out of his house until he was like, I got him at 6 months and he was over a year before he started going outside. He's just expressing himself.
What's up?
Talking about Chi Chi being a fucking murderer.
He is a murderer.
I'm
I don't think
hungry.
Caliban would have the metal to kill that bird. I just don't think he could. He's too much of a wuss.
Do you think he could kill he would kill a lizard, given the chance, wouldn't he?
Wonder if he could. I don't know. He's such a wuss.
I
He probably would
want
play with
your
it though.
scopes.
He's
I need your scopes.
gonna eat your skull. All right. You ready?
Yeah, I've just drawn a Sharpie smiley face for no reason. Yeah.
So we got a few phone calls to get to. 323-522-4032 is that number. The first call is an update from a guy who likes buttholes.
That could be anyone.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is a follow-up call about my Tinder date, the Butthole Pictures girl. Well, guess what? We are an official couple. We're dating.
No!
We're very much in love.
Mazel tov. That's like,
Congratulations!
how many people find love through their
Through
like mutual
assholes.
affinity of assholes, you know?
For just a chick sending you her asshole on Tinder. Oh my god. Please invite
Well, I think
us
it's
to the
great. It's
wedding.
like she loves showing her asshole. He loves looking at assholes. It's a perfect union. So mazel tov. I'm happy to hear that.
Me too.
In fact, she gave me a gift to celebrate our love affair. As you guys know, she's a bit of an amateur photographer. So she actually went out and took some pictures for me. A lot of high definition, extreme close-ups. Then she went and printed them out on glossy paper. Then she went and
I hope she went to like a Rite Aid or a Walgreens and used their photo printers.
And did it just in front of it. Well, over here, you could do that in like we've got a pharmacy kind of like makeup store called Boots. So I'm imagining her in Boots with everyone looking
Just
behind
loading
her.
it up.
Yeah,
That's how it
just
is here
loading it
too.
up. Yeah.
added captions to them in pen. You know, a lot of like "Come here, daddy" with an arrow pointing. You know. Then this crazy bitch went out and had them professionally laminated. I don't know what Kinko's she went.
What?
So
She
he can
all
wank
right.
on them.
Oh, so he can wank on the picture without ruining them.
Yeah, that's like an extra step. I've never thought to do that.
You know what she needs to do? She needs to make you a wank book.
A wank book is better, or a wank
Yeah.
calendar. I think a wank calendar would suit this guy as well.
A wank calendar would work, every day of the week a different, or every month you could have. But a wank book, she can get the pictures, they can be
It's kind of what
protected, he
she's
can
already
flip through
done.
it and wank.
Yeah. He could just like punch some holes through the laminate on the side and thread some string or some like, some nice leather and leather
It's
bind.
crazy that she had a lamp. Like, who's laminating these things?
See, personally, I would have left it unlaminated because I'd have wanted him to stick the pictures to the wall using his cum.
Can't you still do that if it's laminated?
No, it's just going to slide off.
Maybe. Yeah, I wonder what he's doing if he has like a secret stash of these pictures. I think it's really funny how he's like, we're officially in a relationship. You know, I really like her. That crazy bitch. It's young love. It's so beautiful.
For that one. And then she gave me all of these pictures so that I could, quote, come all over her when she's not there and not ruin the pictures. And so I could jerk off to her in the shower. So yeah, you ladies.
Now that is thoughtful. I never thought about
That's
that.
why
Now
she
he
got
can
them
bring the
laminated too.
pictures into the shower.
Maybe that's where he likes to wank the most. So that's why she's done it. She's like, I'll get you some shower pics.
It was convenient to wake in the shower because you just shoot it down the
Yeah.
drain. It's clean.
Yeah, but like whenever you have a stand-up wank or whenever you come standing up, it's never as good as when you're lying down. That's
Who
what I
says you're
think.
standing up?
Do you have a lie down shower?
I got my feet in the
You
air. I'm
cry-
just like,
You cry. You do it after you've had your cry or before.
I just like he's bringing the waterproof picture set.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jerk off the buttholes in the shower. Not gonna ruin the pictures. I like her too. She's resourceful.
She is. She's very clever.
Sarah, if you need a gift idea for your man, waterproof shower porn. Excellent.
There you go, ladies. Waterproof shower porn.
But how
It keeps on giving.
I think he should amp it up with her. Like maybe you know what he should do? He should get one of those silicone molds for his cock and then can make her a dildo so she can fuck herself with his cock when he's not around. I think she'd like that.
She seems a bit obsessive. She probably would. Yeah.
To make this relationship work, he has to match her energy that she is putting in, or she'll soon find someone else who will match her energy. So he has to do something like that now.
Yeah, he has to respond in kind. He probably should just get a mold of your dick and give it to her for her birthday and be like,
the polite thing to do. I think she would fucking love that.
I think she totally would be. Maybe even include a vial of your cum.
She'd love that as well.
She probably sounds like she'd be really into that.
Yeah.
Or, you know, sometimes you can like we interviewed a guy that had a cum cookbook. Maybe cook like if she likes cupcakes, cook some cupcakes with cum. You can call them cum cakes.
She'd love all of this. We're giving this
She'd
guy
eat the shit out of a cum cake.
If you make a cum cake or make the mold, you have to let us know. I must know how this all goes. She's gonna do so. She's gonna top herself. She's gonna do something on top of this to top herself. Like
yeah.
I
wouldn't even think it's a red flag that she's this obsessed with sending pictures of her butthole. Just you know, I wouldn't be too concerned. I think you found a good thing.
Yeah.
Just make sure, make sure you reciprocate. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Cum cakes. All right. Next call we have here is a person who seems to be, you know, a bit experienced in the world of varts. It's definitely an ongoing theme here on the show. Kate's very experienced in varting.
I've now become the spokeswoman for varts, it seems. I've had several messages this week from other women alone, just secretive messages on the side where women are like, that thing you've been talking about on the podcast, I do it too. I'm like, well, do you know what? If I'm going to be known for something, it might as well be varts. I'm for it.
So do you have like a VART special interest group? Maybe it could be an acronym, VART. We'll think of that.
Vaginas are really terrific.
Yeah,
so
vaginas are really terrific. And it's just called VART, VART.org. And the chairman and founder is Kate Rambo.
I shouldn't be the treasurer, though, because I will spend the money.
I think this person should be the treasurer.
Hiya, it's Sophie. Just wanted to call in with some thoughts on the VART, vagina fart conversation.
Treasurer, you can speak about VARTs.
10 years I've been listening to this show, and apparently this is the first thing that's inspired me enough to call in. So that's something.
10 years.
It's definitely a thing. It 100% happens. It's definitely a thing. Sorry, Mum. Love you, Mum. But yeah, I'm with Kate. It definitely happens. It's happened to me. It's happened to my friends. We've spoken about it before.
Well, so every girl has a VART story.
Every girl has a it's not even like you need a fart story. It's not like shitting your pants. It's not like a life event. It just happens from time to time. You do it and you move on with your day. It's like, do you remember
When
every time you farted? No.
it depends on what kind of fart. So did you ever, when you were a kid and you were like, learning how to menstruate and do all that stuff,
Learning how to menstruate.
and putting on special gloves to remove
Gloves,
your
my
tampons,
pink gloves.
did your mom say like, Kate, a fact of life for women is vaginal farting, and this will happen to you one day and you'll know you're a woman then? Like, did that,
No.
you never had that conversation?
No, because like I said to you, it's something women do, but we just don't talk about with each other. But now it's all coming out in the open on this podcast. It's a first for the
People
world.
should be open about things.
Farts
For
happen.
and also on a Facebook group that I'm on, there was actually a conversation about it recently.
Oh, she's in a Facebook VART group. That's amazing.
Oh
I
shit!
wonder
But
what it's called.
I'm not I'm not the spokesman on that. So
The
it can't
chairman?
be. Yeah, it can't be one I'm in.
I just think it's funny that she's in a Facebook group specifically for varting.
Yeah, that's exactly what the
And
Facebook group is called.
specifically about that topic, and pretty much every woman in the group had experienced it. One of them said that it felt like a marble is rolling from the back to the front and then out, which I would say is, yeah, that kind of works as a description. Maybe, I don't know, maybe not.
A marble?
A marble, yeah.
Is that what it feels like? Like a marble's rolling right like through your labias?
It's like like a penny rolling up the wall. It's like kind of what it feels like. It's a good description, though.
Ah, it's interesting. I can't really imagine how that feels.
Well, you don't have a vagina.
No, exactly. That's why
You act like you do, but you don't actually have one.
I wish I had one at times,
I am like
just so I could fart into it.
Kate, I wear a lot of tight jeans, and it does only happen when you're sitting down. So maybe that is something like the
Oh no.
What happened? Did you fart?
No, the thing stopped. Let's see. Son of a bitch.
Oh, is your computer about to explode?
No. It's the file. Fuck. Let's see.
like Kate, I wear a lot of. The only other thing I wanted to say, just on the foreskin debate, as a British woman, my experiences are a bit different. I would say about a third of the men that I've been with have been circumcised, which I think is really high. I don't think that's normal. I would say that's way higher than the average, probably. Most of them, I think, just had it done as kids, like for medical reasons or something. I'm not sure. Like, none of them have been for religious reasons. There was one who had it done as an adult because he was fucking a girl really hard, and he went a bit too hard and it tore his foreskin very, very badly. So badly, in fact, that they had to remove it. And now he has a big scar that goes all the way around his dick, which would be a shame, but he's also a terrible human being. So, oh well. Anyway, I better go back to work, but I just wanted to call in and say, yeah, I'm with you, Kate. I think it definitely is a thing. And sorry, Mum, but it does happen. Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.
So there you go. Varting is real.
Yes, Mum.
The struggle
Mum.
is real.
The struggle is real. It'll happen. Do you know what? Because Mum rang in and said that she'd never had a vart. I wonder if between her ringing in and saying she's never varted, and in between now she's been like every day being like, when will I vart?
One day
One
I will
day.
vart.
Mum, put on some really tight jeans or like disco pants and just like sit down for the night.
And just sit down and wait. It will happen.
It will happen. It will, honestly. Maybe it's just because
Eat some lima beans.
me and Treasurer of the Varts are like to wear tight pants because we're slags.
This is a gathering of the Vart Society for women.
I now call you all to a meeting of the Varts.
Vaginas are really terrific.
White.
We all vart.
I think that's the whitest thing I've ever said.
I need to make a shirt. Vaginas are really terrific.
It would sell. It would sell.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna put it on T Public. A Vart vaginas are really terrific shirt, and that's what all the women that are in Kate Rambo's Vart.org group can wear.
Yeah, just don't make me the treasurer because I'll spend the money.
Yeah, you're the chairman and founder. I have heard of dudes snapping their banjo string. We've had a couple people call in about it.
Well, my pals did it when she was riding a guy, and she just said it was blood everywhere. But she was annoyed because he was like, "Oh, you must have got your period," and she just looked down and she knew it was real blood, and she was like, "Nah, that's not period blood." And as soon as she like got off his cock, it was like just,
Oh
it's
my
like a
God.
geyser.
I don't get how that happens because your foreskin,
It's your banjo
when your
string.
dick, yeah, but when your dick gets hard, your foreskin like retracts, right? It looks like a normal cock, right?
Yeah, but then you got your banjo string, which is attached to your foreskin, and you can break the banjo string by being too forceful.
But I don't understand. Is the banjo string? Does every foreskin have a banjo string?
Okay, I want you to go on the internet right now and type in hard cock. Okay. And then when you're done looking at hard cocks, ask yourself
So
what
wait.
you're doing with your life, David.
Are you saying that all hard cocks have banjo strings?
If you've got a foreskin, you've got a banjo string because it's what
Okay.
attaches your foreskin to your cock, and you can break that. And when you break that, it's like you'll piss blood. There'll be blood fucking everywhere. But what's
That's a
probably
thin
happened?
membrane.
Yeah, what's probably happened is in Treasure of the Vart called Vart Treasurer. She's probably like ripped that banjo string has probably been ripped off his cock, and they were like, instead of trying to stitch it back on or let it heal naturally, because you can usually just let it heal naturally, they've been like, there's been no saving it, and they've had to snip it.
So if a girl is giving you head and she has braces, can she rip your banjo string on her braces?
Yeah.
God, this is like, so that's another reason not to have a foreskin, because there's one more thing you need to worry about being injured in sex. Like you can break your cock. We've had people who have broken their cock.
As in,
Like-
like what, in two? Like
No,
a
like
bone?
snapped it during sex. Like
Ugh.
it's whatever that I don't know. I don't know much about human anatomy, but there's like a tube in there that you can snap. And we had a guy on the show that talked about breaking his cock while fucking. So that's something to be concerned about. But not only can you do that, you can also snap your banjo string.
One of my biggest fears has been if you're shagging and then you get stuck together shagging, you gotta go to the hospital.
I've often wondered if that's an urban myth.
No, I think it happens. There's definitely nurses and doctors and like morgue technicians who listen to the show. You've got to let us know it happens. I bet it fucking does.
I think that's rare.
You think it isn't a myth, but wouldn't that, as much as I want to kill a man while we're shagging, so I can say that my pussy has killed someone, I don't then want him to go into rigor mortis and get stuck inside me, because then that makes me a necrophiliac.
Oh yeah. Like if he died, had a heart attack, but he was stuck inside of you.
And and then I'm just attached to this dead body as like his dick is rotting inside of me.
Have you ever had a
What? As I say, if a dick starts rotting inside of your pussy, then that's taking your diamond level pussy down a couple of notches.
Have you ever had a guy pass out while fucking you?
Of
Like
course.
while being penetrated? Like
Yeah, of
your dick is in-
course. And I've passed out on guys while I've been shagging them. I had this.
Is this
one
just
night-
typical for a northern slag? It's like,
Yeah,
happens.
you get drunk, man. I remember I had this one night stand once, and I was like, I was on top of him. I was riding away, and I just got a bit disorientated because I looked around the room and I just fucking fell off. But I was like, I'm a trooper. I was like, oh, I'm really sorry about that. La la la. Got back on, did exactly the same thing.
It fell over again.
Just
Did
fell
he keep-
straight off.
But did he keep fucking you when you were passed out?
No, I wasn't passed out.
Because I would have finished.
Yeah, I was just discombobulated. Can't remember. That was a funny night. But I remember when I left his house at like 5 a.m., I didn't know where I was. And I literally lived 2 streets away, and I walked for about 4 miles in the wrong direction.
And see, that's what's great about the northern slags.
Classy
You don't even need to
times.
buy roofies. It's like, who needs roofies? You just go to northern England.
We roofie ourselves.
All right. Speaking of England, this is a call that I've been saving for a while. And yeah, just looking for an opportune moment. You know, we talk about vaginal farting, you talk about banjo string ripping. Next thing you know, you talk about being ass raped with a broom.
This is the Twisted Firestarter speaking.
Yes.
3 points. Number one, D. Yes, I was pubic at 16, but I was sort of like halfway there. I'm a lot airier now. Funnily enough, though, my voice was still really high. So on the very first day, the first thing we had to do is we all had to line up in the corridor, and we were numbered 1 to 48, and we each had to shout out our number. So it's like 1, 2, 3, all the way to 48. Gets to me, and I go 16. And the fucking sergeant just comes pegging it out of the office. He goes, "Is there a fucking girl in the platoon?" No, it's me, sergeant. And they're all just fucking pissing themselves. So that was in like the first 10 minutes of my army career. So
no.
I would have left the army if I was this guy. Would you? I'd just be like, "It's not for me."
Is that a girl? Is that a girl in the platoon? No.
I was pubic, I swear.
Oh, I was fucking proper pubic. You're the one who was asking underage boys if they're pubic.
I was wondering. I didn't think he was. I mean, you look at this picture, he does not look pubic.
You'll have to show me.
really get off to a great start.
I don't know what you're going to do to that picture. I'll have to laminate it first.
For the shower.
Number two, erectile dysfunction. Yeah, it's definitely just all because of the pressure of the situation. Because I get lob-ons all the time. You know, I'm going to be 30 in April, and I still masturbate like I'm a teenager. And it just all gets. I fucking hate having sex. Actually, if I'm being honest, because I just know I go into it knowing that I'm going to be an inadequate failure, and the whole thing is just endless anxiety for me. But
Oh, so it's the stage fright that he suffers from.
Yeah. Just get over it. You just need to get over it. Like, I always think the first couple of times you shag someone, it's awkward as fucking hell.
Yeah.
But then, like, you get into the
settle
rhythm of
down.
it. Yeah. And, like, either that time, even after the first couple of times, you even know that you're just going to be shagging this person, and you can lose your inhibitions that way. Or you just kind of know that, oh, yeah, there's actually something more here. And that's when it gets even sexier. So
Or just go get some fucking boner pills. Who gives a shit? They make
he can
fucking
get a
pills for
boner.
that now.
He just said he's really good.
Yeah, I
at getting
know, but I mean,
boner.
if he's worried and gets anxiety about it, go get boner pills.
Oh, so like that can keep his maintain his erection, so he
Yeah.
doesn't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But I just think he probably just needs to meet somebody who's fucking.
Well, that's the
gonna be
thing. But I mean,
nice. Yeah.
if you're concerned, you have all this anxiety and you can't get a boner because of it or whatever, get a boner pill for the first couple of times. Once you get used to the person, you don't need it anymore.
Yeah, that's actually good advice. I would.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, who
take that
knows?
advice.
I like that term, lob on. I've never
I
heard
say
that.
lob on. I've definitely said lob on during this.
Was that mean boner?
It's like half cocked. To me,
Oh,
like it's
like
a
chubs.
chubby. Yeah, it's like a chubby dick.
Chubs.
If someone says to me, "Oh, I've got a bit of a lob on," then it's like, "Oh, you're a bit horny, but you're not full horny."
I'm
Like-
soft yet hard for you.
Yeah, it's like having the chubs. Soft, yeah.
Like a baby's arm.
Yeah.
luckily for me, I don't have very many opportunities to have sex, so it isn't very often a problem. And, you know, it just gives me more time to work on my manifesto anyway.
Yeah. it's always
Number
good.
3, being ass raped with a broom handle. So this may come as a bit of a surprise, but I was a little bit of a target for bullies in the army.
Yeah, that's another reason why I probably would have left. Like, this guy has the voice of a girl. He's obviously, ridiculed. And then just the fact that there's like, it sounds like there's just like a bunch of like assholes in the army, right? Aren't they, like, in the British army?
Yes, squaddies are generally assholes, but they're like
Yeah.
they're all assholes to each other. It's not a case of, yeah, he will have been bullied, but so will of number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every single one of them will have.
It just
been
seems like a
fucked
place
with.
that's rife with bullying. And if, if you can't take it, I'd be like, fuck it.
Well, what's that Sam Kinison joke about the army where he's like, shave my head and be around a bunch of men? I'm there. like this.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And one of the things they enjoyed doing was they used to piss on me when I was in the shower. That was always good fun. Again, whilst I was in the shower, they used to like to slap a load of shower gel in my eyes and then punch me
Aw.
whilst I was sort of stumbling around half blind. So that was, I always really enjoyed that whenever they did it. But they're
Is this like a therapeutic thing for him, or do you think he's getting?
I hope it
PTSD
is. No, I hope it is
flashbacks?
therapeutic. Do you know what? The pissing thing sounds way more innocent than the putting shower gel in your
And
eyes.
punching him in the
That is
face.
that is mean, putting shower gel in your eyes, because it's like the cheapest shower gel known to man. It's not like one of an organic vegan no cry shower gel. It is
Well,
like
they're also doing it so he's
Radox
temporarily
toxic.
blinded, and they can punch him in the face and laugh.
A 16-year-old as well. What dickheads.
favorite form of torment was to wait till I'm asleep and then just tip my bed over. And it happened all the time. And, I never did anything about it. I used to just, silently, just silently fight back the tears and put my bed back and just pray to God that I, didn't believe in at that point.
You know what would have happened in this country?
Oh, Private Pile.
Oh yeah, no, he would have got a gun and he would have murdered all of them. He would have killed them all and then killed himself. So what would have happened? He would have shot them all and taken his own life. But you guys can't get guns, so what are you gonna do?
He will have had a gun. He's in the army.
Yeah,
He'll
but
have
they
had
probably don't
access
let you
to
they
guns.
probably don't let you keep the guns. They're probably locked up and you can only, carry them around at like supervised moments.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Not in the
Good.
US. We sleep with our guns.
What's your gun's name? Davina.
My gun? Neil Diamond.
Neil Diamond.
That they just leave me alone for the rest of the night. And then one night when they did it, tipping me out of bed just wasn't enough for them. And I think there was like 3 or 4 of them or something. They sort of like pinned my arms down on the floor
Oh, Jesus.
and shoved a broom handle up my ass. And it didn't really go up very far or for very long. But maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little oversensitive. But I feel
I don't know about that. I don't think he's being oversensitive.
That's I've definitely seen pornos, gay pornos that have that kind of premise.
What? You've
Have
seen
you-
gay porns where they've held a guy down and shoved a broom handle up his
Not
ass.
necessarily broom handle, but they'll be holding down a boy, and they will be doing obscure things to him. This is giving me the gay bumps a bit.
Well, no, it's definitely very gay, but it's
Not
like the
for
forced
him.
gay bumps.
Yeah, not for
Oh,
him.
could you imagine?
For them.
I'll get to it. I'll get to it in a second. But could you imagine
Coming up with this
like-
plan.
coming up with a plan to do that? Yeah, no, that's weird. That's like sadomasochistic homosexual behavior. That's I mean, you're a rapist. You're a
if your friends
rapist.
said that to you, would you not just be like, well, yeah, firstly, that's not only rape, but secondly, it's a bit gay that you want to be playing with his asshole.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story after this because this
Okay.
happened in Bay City. Not to me, but it happened in Bay City.
they crossed the line. And I
Fuck
went,
yeah, they did.
into the showers and sat in a corner and cried like a man. Though I was crying like a man.
Jesus Christ.
You would fucking cry.
And that's it. And I never.
Fuck yeah, people can die from that. You could perforate someone's fucking colon.
You fucking can't.
With
You know
that.
what? That's extreme. That's like taking the bullying to a next level now.
It's creepy and weird and like Shawshank Redemption type gay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
it
it's like
totally
prison
is.
gay. It's really
Yeah.
weird. And it's not even. It's like about the dominance to the point where these people are pathological.
Yeah, you're in the army, and like they always say there's a fine line between banter and bullying, but in the army I would say it's like low level bullying. But like, fuck me, that's bad crack.
Yeah, these guys are sadists.
Literally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Reported them because you just have it so drilled into you that you're meant to be a team and you're meant to stick up for each other.
We never
And I felt like I
reported.
was betraying them if I reported them for raping me. And that was that was my time in basic training. Twisted Fire Starter, goodbye.
Jesus Christ, man. I'm fucking sorry to hear that you had to endure that.
Does
I'm
he-
hoping after that you're like, fuck it, I'm done with this bullshit.
I want to know, like, obviously he'll remember those fucking assholes. Like, does he keep up with their lives? I bet they're all like fucking family men now, and they have kids, but he'll fucking know. And he's always
Yeah,
got
but
that
they're
in his
family
back
men
pocket.
with kids that probably go out like, to rest areas, where George Michael hangs out and like in the park, because this behavior it's not like normal. I mean, there's definitely
It's not normal.
no, I mean it's pathological, it's sadistic. I mean, the fact that anyone could do this to someone else and like think about doing,
and
sodomizing
this
someone with a
plan.
broom handle
Yeah,
and
then
like have multiple people.
he'll join in and do it. I mean, that's
so
fucked up.
My story, and I don't want to name any names in case people listen to it, because we do have people from Bay City, but I remember in high school, a lot of people would go to like people's cabins in this area of northern Michigan called Tawas. And so they go up to this like, there's like a lake up there in their cabins. I went a few times, but me and Kessler were very rarely ever invited to camping situations, obviously.
I wonder why.
But I mean, every now and then, people had like, some of their parents had like, wealthy families would have like nice cabins up there. Everyone in Michigan has cabins up north. So anyway, this particular occasion, I don't know why. I don't know if we were invited or maybe we couldn't go or something like that. But a bunch of them went up there to a cabin. They hung out and they partied. And one kid, they held, like, I guess a group of them got super drunk and they held this one kid down and sodomized him with a pool cue.
Right.
And yeah. And so like the next week or whatever, I think he might have been a football player or something, but because we were young, we were probably like sophomores or juniors or something. And we were like hanging out and like we're at a party or something. Yeah, that's what it was. We were at a party and this kid that it happened to was like laughing about it and brought it up like, oh my God, it was hilarious. We got so drunk. He like, seriously, they pulled my pants down and like put a pool cue in my ass. And like, I remember me and Kess were like, dude, you got raped. And he was like, no, we were just fucking around getting drunk. It's like, no,
That doesn't happen.
were raped. That's not normal. He's like, oh, whatever. It was funny. And it was like, I remember because a bunch of other people were laughing about it. And it's just like, it's not funny. You were sexually violated and you shouldn't be laughing about this and dismissing it. This is a serious thing. And he was just totally, it's similar to this. It's like, I don't know if you're thinking it's like, oh, we're all a team or these are my friends. Your friends wouldn't do that to you.
No, well, he said in the call to Firestar, it was like, it's drilled into you that you are part of the team and you just don't snitch on people. So he didn't feel comfortable enough to go and report them because maybe the bullying would have got worse. You just don't know, and he'll never know because he never reported them.
But it's the same thing with
Twisted
this.
Firestarter knows how fucked up it is. He knows that it's
Well, I think
not
he does
the same
now.
as that guy.
I think he does. Well, I think but it's the same kind of psychology behind it. Is I think he was like, well, these are my friends. I would never snitch on them. I would never, we're just fucking around, getting drunk and horseplay. And it's just like, no, that's not horseplay. They
not
raped you with
horseplay.
a fucking pool cue.
It's not like drawing on your face while you're asleep.
But I just remember, it's like, it's not like he put a bunch of like fucking shaving cream on your face with like, Sharpie. It's like, no, they raped you with a fucking pool cue, dude. And I remember like me and Kessler were explaining this to him and he just kind of was like, I don't see it that way. It's just like, and then I think we just kind of gave up. We're like, you know what? I don't care, but I'm not going to pass it out in a room with any of you motherfuckers. Anyway, Twisted Firestarter, man, that's a fucking crazy story. And I'm glad you can look back at it with like a sense of humor about it, even though it's pretty fucked up. And I'm sorry that
Yeah,
happened to you.
there's a lot of people who would not have bounced back from that and wouldn't be able to even tell that story.
No, I mean, I admire, the fact that he can.
Yeah,
You
he's a
look
tough
back at it and
cookie.
be like, yeah. And the
Yeah,
fact that you're able to endure that and, you know, he seems to turn out fine. He's got a good sense of humor. He's a funny
he's a good.
guy,
I love Twisted Five
you
Star.
know?
You should. I really want him to try the dick pills and see if they'll work. Because I think you're onto something there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you have initial anxiety, we make or pharmaceutical companies make something to cure that.
They
So,
do.
and then once you get comfortable with somebody, it's not going to be an issue anymore. But I think it's like, yeah, it's always sex with somebody anytime for the first couple times. You don't know each other's bodies,
Yeah, and it is
you
it's
know,
just awkward. Whenever you're naked around somebody new, it's always awkward. Like
and
I'm not
especially if
from
the,
a
well,
naked household.
yeah, but especially if the girl's just like nonstop farting. It's weird. Makes it
He
weird.
wants to get himself a vart. So if me and Deputy Varts were on the team, we'd find you a lady.
Find yourself a farter.
Yes.
That's what you need to do. People call the Signal hotline 323-522-4032. Reddit page. Walden, that guy Walden has just been going crazy with the memes.
Walden, I love your work. Say the
That guy's like a meme artist. He's like
There's been
he's
lots of
his
good stuff this week as well.
but his meme skills are like elevated. I'd say he's like a master of the meme.
The master of the meme.
I'm impressed.
That is
I'm
such a
impressed
high
by it.
compliment to give someone. I enjoy a meme, so good.
I
for
do
you,
enjoy a
Walden.
meme. But yeah, there's some pretty crazy shit on the Reddit page. A lot of people posting these days. Go check it out. Just go to Reddit, do a search for r/Sick and Wrong podcast, and just go have fun. Have fun on that Reddit page. That's what it's all about. Also, if you're a big fan of the show, which there's a lot of people that are like, they listen to the show every week and they're like, we need more show. We need more Sick and Wrong. You can get it. We're doing a lot more on the Patreon these days. You want to go sign up? You want to show us a little love? You want to keep this show going? Just go to patreon.com/sick and wrong. Sign up today. Support the show. We appreciate it. For only $5. That's it. $5 a month. It's not even that much. It's like less than what? A
It's like-
six pack.
Yeah.
You get an extra story. This week, we were talking about a guy from Oklahoma who attempted a bride napping.
Oh yeah.
He attempted to abduct someone's wife, like straight out of like Borat type thing, like wedding sack kind of thing. But we did that. You get some extra phone calls. You get the outtakes. We were talking about David Hasselhoff's plus size daughter. Oh no, wait, that was news. But in the outtakes this
Yeah.
week, the outtakes this week, we were talking about the pickup artist guy that was married to Ryan Keeley. It was funny because when I was hanging out with her, she's like, I can't believe I married this guy. And I was just like, yeah, I know. I'm shocked by it. She's like, yeah, well, didn't you have dreads for 9 years as a white guy? And I was just like, yeah, fuck it.
This guy
Better
made me very mad as well. It was like
Well,
9
it's better to
a.m.
regret
and I
something
was
you
so
have done
angry.
than something you haven't. But yeah, I
Don't
mean,
say
it's
that about dreads. Like, don't be a white man and get dreads.
better regret
never.
something you have done.
Mm.
But yeah, this guy's logic is absurd.
He's a wanker.
It's such a
Put it like
wanker.
that.
Anyway, we go into detail on the outtakes this week. And as I mentioned before, yeah, we do a news segment where we kind of do our stories we'd never do on Sick and Wrong, but it's kind of like just a news roundup for the week. So if you sign up on Patreon, you can check that out. We talk about David Hasselhoff's chunky daughter, who is on the cover of Playboy. We also got into a story about Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's madam, who refuses to flush her brown sharks.
She's
Like she's in her
bitch.
cell and she won't even flush her toilet. That's the thing.
Minger.
If it's yellow, it's mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. That's the rule. That's my motto. All right. Also the bonus episode this week, Sick and Wrong Overkill. Kate did a whole thing on Peter Manuel, the Beast of Birkinshaw, which we've never covered on the show. So a horrific serial killer.
Yeah, Glasgow's finest serial killer. East Kilbride boy.
She plays a lot of Jesus and Mary Chain. So go check it out. Patreon.com/sick and wrong. We do appreciate you supporting the show. Also, the T Public guy reached out to me. There's a big sale going on right now, as usual, but this time for real. There's a real sale going on. It's like 35% off things. So just go to sickandwrongpodcast.com/shop. You click on the picture of the Pope and just go buy stuff at a reduced cost. You know, my people love sales.
Varting t-shirts coming soon.
I seriously am going to do that. I'm going to make it like. Did you guys have Dare?
Yeah,
When,
that's how I imagine it.
Yeah, like you know the
Yeah,
Dare
The
for the
Dare
drugs.
logo. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I was
only
thinking of
know
doing.
that through Marilyn Manson, but yeah, that's how I imagine it.
I was gonna do the Dare logo, but just make it Vart.
Yeah, that's how I was picturing it in my head. I was like, that would look cool.
Yeah, it's coming soon to the T Public store. Sick and Wrong song of the week. Actually, Kate picked this one out. We're trying to find like a good Glasgow band. I know I was my selection was Alex Harvey, but we played Alex Harvey on the show several times. I love Alex Harvey though.
Yeah, he's
And
great.
he's a famous Glaswegian. But Kate, her bands were from the Glasgow scene, and there's a lot of good music coming out of that Glasgow scene.
Yeah, there's freaking millions of good bands from Glasgow.
So she was telling me about this band called Anxiety, which relatively recent, right? Past 5 years.
Yeah, they're not together anymore, sadly. But when they were together, they were like a star that shone bright. They were fantastic. Saw them live a couple of times. Played
On
with
La
them.
Vida. Oh, you play? Oh, with Golden Dawn.
No, Asian Babes.
Asian Babes.
Played with them, and yeah, they released their stuff on La Vida, which is a great label if you don't know it. London based. La Vida's still going. Paco will never die. He's still
Yeah,
going.
I always hate when I discover a band. I'm like, oh shit, I guess I can never see them because they don't exist anymore. However, I kind of like this song. It's called Delayed, and it's from their self-titled LP. It came out in 2016 on La Vida. So we're going to show here with Anxiety. People, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with episode 788. Till then, take it sleazy. Boo.
Keep it newsy.
Keep it newsy. It's Kate's sign off.
Deputy Varts. Keep it farting. Oh, we are really farting in here, yeah.
We are really farting.
Oh, it is a farting party in here, yeah. He's like a German.
God,
sexual
no,
thing.
that's serious about the fucking pool cue rape. I just remember me and Kessler were just like we're with a big group of people at this party, and everyone started laughing like, "Oh, that was fucked up. That was so fucked up." It's like, dude,
Yeah, that's fucked up.
that is
Yeah.
fucked up. Like they violated you with a fucking pool stick, and he's like, oh, "We were just fucking around. It was fun. I passed out," and I'm just like, "Yeah, you passed out. They pulled your pants down. They shoved a pool cue up your anus." Like I don't know. It was so weird. I remember just like state of disbelief about how like gleeful he was about it. Like just sort of. I mean, I guess
It's
it was kind
bad.
of like cognitive dissonance. Like he knew it was wrong, but at the same time, he's like, but they're my friends. Crazy.
Yeah, they're fucking not your friends. Friends don't fucking rape each other. It's as simple as that.
No, friends
No.
don't rape each other. Yeah,
Shit.
but yeah, some fucked up shit. Anyway, we're gonna. I'm gonna actually take a look right now at the Dare logo.
Oh shit, he's really going for it, guys. I'm just gonna go and grab a beer before we say goodbye. Before I say goodbye.
Before I say goodbye. All right, what do you guys think? What do you get? Like, you see something like this? I'm showing you guys. This is like this is my creative process I'm doing here. Tell me what you think of this. I'm sharing my screen. That's what I'm thinking. Just VART. Vart. When there's a fart rolling into your vagina. What do you think? Do you think that works?
Yes.
Like VART. when you have to fart and it's in your vagina?
Oh no, I just knocked my phone off.
Or would you just do fart, no words?
To resist drugs and violence.
Well, I think that's
Yeah.
what.
I think you've got to have the little slogan underneath.
All right, I'll have to work on that.
You've got to fart and it's in your... Let's see.
I'm gonna make that Bart shirt this week. They'll love it. All right.
But,
Bye, fellas, deputy farters. That was fun hanging out.
yeah, we'll be back next week.
I know. I love hanging out with the whole English morning crew.
This is the English morning crew.
It's the English morning crew, and it's
Yeah.
fun. The live stream is kind of fun, even though it's like 5 a.m. over here for me.
Yeah, and I gotta go to work tonight. These are my medicinal beers so that I sleep.
All right. All right. Take it.